to say it, but his parents have been feeling unwell as of late, and I'm staying with them to help take care of Alex.
Oh, so that's serious.
Oh, no, it's not serious. Nothing terminal. It's just a touch of consumption.
Welcome back to Horror Queers. I'm Joe, and we're doing something a little different.
And I'm Trace, and yes, we are, everyone. We are unlocking the Patreon vault once again to release our episode on I Saw the TV Glow to celebrate the release of Jane Schoenbrun's new film, Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma.
Yes, we're so excited for the new film. It feels like event status every time Jane releases a new film, and I will say, I'm approaching the new one with slightly less trepidation than maybe you and I felt about the sophomore effort, because that film was so fucking dense. We needed not one, but two guests to help us unpack it.
Yeah, so I wanted to highlight that, everyone, because we normally don't have guests on our Patreon episodes, but we did for this one because, I mean, full disclosure, Joe and I were a little perplexed when we first saw I Saw the TV Glow, and we knew some people who really, really vibe with it. So our guests are Robyn Adams, and of course my husband, Ari Drew, who really came in to help us unlock the musical aspects of the film that weren't really connecting for Joe and myself.
Yes, I will say there's a lot of heavy lifting on the two guests in this particular episode, so huge thank you and credit to Robyn and Ari, because, I mean, I think we were just like, okay, other people really seem to be vibing with this film and we like it, but it felt like there were parts that we couldn't quite unlock. And I will say, over the course of this quite lengthy discussion, I really felt like the film took on an entirely new persona. Like, I really appreciated it in a different light. So I was so thankful for their involvement.
Yeah, I think it's a thing for me where I still didn't fully connect with it emotionally, but I did. I gained a new understanding as to how and why other people were connecting with this emotionally. And so, I think it's a movie where I appreciate it and I respect it. It's still not one of my favorites, but I'm really grateful for the conversation because, again, it shined a light on this movie for me.
There we go. Yeah. And folks, one thing that you will hear in this episode is that we are going to use, I don't know if it's a dead name, but Jack Haven had not changed their name yet. So just take note that we acknowledge that the actor uses a different name now, but you will hear the old name. Apologies for that. Okay, so folks, please enjoy this Patreon exclusive episode, which is now freely available to everybody. Make sure that you get your tickets for Camp Miasma. And if you like what you hear, you should definitely hop on the Patreon because we do have more than 500 hours over there.
Yeah.
And you get early access to episodes like this. So we do have certain episodes we record that we plan to release on the main feed, but it's usually never within about a year. So
yeah, and I mean, so just head on over to patreon.com/horrorqueers. And y'all, it's basically an entirely other podcast. So we have main feed, we have Patreon. If you want to hear us talk about recent horror films, that's where you want to go.
Yeah. So without further ado, please enjoy this episode on I Saw the TV Glow, and we will see you back here, because you're not going to hear it in the outro. Next week, we're going to be talking about Influencers from 2025.
Ooh, yeah, a sequel that I can confidently say is better than the original.
Woo. And welcome back to Horror Queers. We're talking, this isn't the Midnight Realm, Maddie. It's just the suburbs. We're talking, it's time for me to become a man, a real adult, a productive member of society. And we're talking the Pink Opaque. And I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and we're talking There Is Still Time.
Oh, that visual destroys me.
I am so interested by this movie. Everyone, we are discussing Jane Schoenbrun's I Saw the TV Glow, a film that we weren't able to fit into our Patreon coverage earlier this year, so we thought, why not give y'all one as a holiday treat?
Indeed. We've had people asking us to cover this for quite some time, and I think we just wanted to make sure we were going to get it right. And also, once again, not unlike Cuckoo last week, we needed to make sure that people could actually see this.
Yes, absolutely, because this actually did get a wide release, but I am becoming more fuzzy on what wide release means nowadays, because I feel like that's 1,500 theaters, but then that's still half the country. So I don't...
And we have international listeners, so...
Yes, absolutely. But also, this is a film that, I mean, Joe, I don't know about you, but I felt... not necessarily inequipped to discuss this film, but I'll be completely upfront. I I admire this film. I respect this film, but it's admittedly a film that I had and still have trouble connecting with and really relating to. So okay. I'm happy that we do actually have two guests on this that I think might, at least on my end, enlighten me a little bit.
There we go.
All right, everyone. Well, yes, we do have two guests today, so I'll go ahead and just introduce them. First up, she is a transgender actress, writer, filmmaker, and self-described she-freak, having directed, co-written, and starred in the short films Katie and Joan Go to the Museum and The Estrogen Gospel. Or you may have also read her work at such publications as The Geek Show, Weird Woman, and Monster Girl. Or you may remember her from our episode on Robert Weiss's 1963 classic, The Haunting. Please welcome back, Robyn Adams.
Hello, thanks for digging me back up.
Yes,
Hello.
Absolutely. Welcome back, Robyn. Excited to have you. And our second guest, he is a film journalist with bylines at Bloody Disgusting, including a brand new column on found footage horror films called Found Frights. You may also remember him from our episodes on The X-Files, I Want to Believe, I Know What You Did Last Summer, It Follows, Suspiria, The Mothman Prophecies, and Personal Shopper. Please welcome back Ari Drew.
Hello. And when you say all those films in a row, I'm kind of feeling like, wow, I really have a vibe that I go for.
Truly.
But thanks for having me back.
I mean, you're both here for a vibe film, so I feel like it's only fitting.
Good to have a vibe.
Yeah, sure. I'll take it.
Take that quote.
Well, but Robyn, this is a bit of a different vibe than The Haunting for you. This is modern here and not gothic.
You see, that is true. That is true, but it's also got kind of a melancholy, longing sense of self being blurred. It's got some of the same qualities as The Haunting. It's very different, but it does carry some of the trappings of that.
Well, I'm curious then. So, because I know both of y'all, I feel like it's safe to say, do like this film, correct?
Yes.
Decidedly.
Yes.
Okay, well, so let's go one at a time. So Robyn, like, what can you describe maybe, I guess, oh God, this may be a loaded question, but how you felt the first time you watched this film?
I have had this in mind in advance of talking about this. My experience with I Saw the TV Glow was interesting because I was already a firm fan of We're All Going to the World's Fair, which is Jane Schoenbrun's previous film. And I'd seen that a couple of times before now, and I should state the context. I live in the UK, and that presents an interesting thing about I Saw the TV Glow, because that infamously, originally we weren't going to be getting it.
Oh.
It originally wasn't going to be here. There was no set distribution deal or anything. The distributor that it finally got was just holding on to it. And then it got released in cinemas.
Okay.
And was an immediate hit.
Oh, like box office wise or critically and commercial? Okay.
Both. Although that's interesting as well. We will get onto that.
Mm-hmm.
But the really, really interesting thing is, obviously, I've had years worth of hype to this. I go into the cinema, I sit down, I watch it. And about 30 minutes in or so, my brain stopped functioning.
Oh, in a good way?
It's in a way which I think is good, but I realised that there was a certain point where it was hitting me really, really hard, and then everything kind of goes flat. And that's not the film. I was thinking, after I'd seen it, I love this, but my brain stopped me from processing it. And I think that's interesting. And over the next week or so, it gradually hit me. I have said many times that processing this film was like processing grief. It is genuinely, it did that much. And I rewatched it, weirdly enough, for another podcast, which was an episode of Pop Screen for The Geek Show. Shout out to Graham Williamson. And I rewatched it, and it solidified in my brain, damn, this is a masterpiece. And I love it so much.
I'm not necessarily surprised to hear that, because I do feel like I'm on the outside looking in with this one, because I've seen, again, so much similar praise. And Ari, you're kind of the same. I remember you, I was planning on watching this, but it wasn't right at the top of my list for this year. And you pushed me into this because you loved it so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually saw this. I graduated. I got to do my ceremony for my doctoral program this year, finally, after finishing my degree last year. And after a day of graduating and family time and being around like all the people, I wanted to take myself to a movie. So I went by myself to see this at the local draft house in Austin that we used to go to so frequently on South Lamar. And in there, I probably the last 30 minutes onward, I just bawled and I couldn't stop crying. And the people like 2 seats down from me were just like staring at me. And like, it was like the waiter kept coming like, are you okay? And I was like, no, I'm good. Just bring the next drink. I'm good.
This might be the plot of I Saw the TV Glow.
Seriously, it was, I know, I'm sure we're going to jump into this and chat more about like what hit, but I guess for me, just given a lot of the work that I do professionally outside of film coverage and the horror community, I work a lot with trans and non-binary youth, and there was just so much in the film that I've heard people share and sentiments and struggles that just really hit so hard, and I knew that I'd probably be walking into something that was going to affect me emotionally, but I really didn't expect it. Robyn, like you said, like there was a part of me that like it just sat with me for days after, and I was really excited to show it to other people once that became possible, because I really think it's a film that is kind of magical, and it's just gorgeous, and it's in a way that I really appreciate the authenticity, in that it's very melancholy. There's a lot of darkness here, and I think that that's part of the authenticity of the film, kind of showcasing different sides of things. So, I'm just really excited to chat about this. I genuinely am so moved by this film, and I feel very lucky to be able to chat about it with you all and with Robyn this week.
Now, Joe, what about your thoughts on this one?
I'll confess I am a little bit more in line with you, Trace, where I think that there's certain aspects of this film that I really grab onto and they connect with me, and other parts where I do, sometimes feel like I'm on the outside looking in. And I think you and I have speculated off mic if it's because we're not as in the mix in terms of the music, which I do think is a key facet of the film. The parts around the nostalgia for like 90s genre television, I was like, oh, I'm definitely feeling that part. And I think that's one of the things I've come to appreciate the most about this movie, is that it feels like there's different places that people can latch onto or make that connection with. It doesn't have to be the entire film, and the film can still work for you.
Yeah, I think that's where I am too. I mean, again, I don't dislike the film. I think both times I finished watching it, I've been like, oh, I just feel really sad, and I'm not quite sure why. And that's not the movie's fault. It's more so like, I don't think I've worked through fully. I don't think I fully processed. I mean, as Robyn said, this took like a while to process, and I don't think I finished processing this film.
No.
Yeah. Well, so let's go into the production of this then a little bit. Okay, so I Saw the TV Glow, as we said, was written and directed by Jane Schoenbrun in their second feature directorial effort, the first being 2021's We're All Going to the World's Fair. Now, let's go back to that film really quickly. Also, go listen to our episode on it, because we do have one. But Schoenbrun had spent 2 years on the screenplay, and in 2019, as they were finishing the final draft, anxiety that they had chalked up to imposter syndrome became debilitating, because they were so ashamed to step into that role of artist, because, I mean, this is their first time really doing a film like this. So, as you do, they turned to psilocybin.
Okay. Love it.
They wanted to investigate on their trip why they were so shamed, noting at this point that they still thought they were a boy. And on that trip, the drugs brought them back to that kid in the basement getting yelled at for playing their quote-unquote sissy songs on the guitar, or watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a show that their father did ask them, isn't that a show for girls? Which, of course, makes its way into the film. But the art that Schoenbrun made revealed their queerness, so they buried both, saying that it wasn't that they weren't capable of expressing themselves and their personality, they just hated themselves and their personality.
No.
And this is all, by the way, from an interview with Schoenbrun for The New Yorker in 2024.
Okay.
Sometimes you got to go altered states. It's just got to happen.
Sure.
I haven't experimented much with mushrooms to like have like a breakthrough like that, but I hear about it a lot.
It just seems so dangerous to me. Like, not the actual drug taking, but just the process of what you might discover.
I think like it's, because there is a rise in the use of psilocybin in like psychotherapy treatment and more research coming out about that. But again, it's like, it's a bit different, I think, if you are like in a position of doing it yourself and just kind of, yep, let's see what happens, and I'll just take what I can, and all of
It's
that.
A wild weekend,
right? Versus like getting dose, and usually it's microdosing. But there is. I've definitely heard anecdotally a number of people have really positive experiences with things like psilocybin or even like ketamine therapy. So, I get it. I mean, but yeah, Joe, I think to your point, it can open the doors. I think if you're not ready to face different parts of yourself or face kind of different truths that you've maybe avoided for a while, it can be very jarring and scary.
Yeah.
But I think it's safe to say Joe has not experimented with mushrooms.
No. It's not really my
you
bag.
haven't, I haven't.
Well, I think y'all both need to get on that very soon then. In a safe,
sure.
I've got to go in the cave.
The New Year's resolutions, they're coming fast.
So shortly after that trip, Schoenbrun was out to only a handful of crew members of We're All Going to the World's Fair until the wrap party, where Anna Cobb, the 17-year-old lead actor in that film, read Schoenbrun's tarot and told them they needed to, and I quote, embrace their feminine side. So Schoenbrun chose their new name, Jane, on a deadline, the day they needed to lock in the credits for We're All Going to the World's Fair.
Oh, wow. I don't think we knew that, did we?
We did not know that.
I had no clue.
That's wild.
I wouldn't feel comfortable personally. I'd be like, no, I need time to think about a name.
When you got a deadline, when you got your name due tomorrow.
Your debut film,
Right.
the thing that you're going to become associated with, it's going to make waves across the globe. It's like, okay, well, pick a fucking name. Oh, wow.
So with I Saw the TV Glow, so they started writing this shortly after We're All Going to the World's Fair. But there was this idea of being haunted by an unresolved cliffhanger from a child show. And the idea specifically of the characters on the show being in a certain kind of danger. That feeling of not having resolution and making it hard to exist in the quote unquote real world to the point where you're almost taking on the pain of those characters. And from there, Schoenbrun really wanted to investigate why that particular mental metaphor or idea and this sort of unreality and merging of fiction and reality that's inherent in it was so close to them. And so they wrote the script for I Saw the TV Glow amid the, and I quote, overwhelming calamity of coming out as transgender at the age of 35, while they were still grieving the life they had been building for those previous 35 years. Ooh. And an interesting piece of insight, Schoenbrun says that the genre version of that experience is literally burying yourself alive. You need to feel that level of powerlessness and suffocation. And again, direct quote.
Holy cow. The language choices are tantamount to the feelings evoked from this film. Like, they were going through it.
And I think it's something, too, because they even said, I didn't know how to describe this in my youth because I didn't have the language to use this. And I think that's something I struggle with. I might struggle with also when talking about this film. But specifically, Schoenbrun began the script 3 months after starting feminizing hormone replacement therapy. Noting that this period of early transition can be fantastically turbulent, they were careful to avoid the conventional images, tropes, and gestures associated with transness. So this would, of course, mean plot lines that necessarily end in murder or assault, clinical sex changes, coming out exchanges, opting instead to take a more allegorical approach, where transitioning means entering a different plane of reality altogether. And, same with death. Like, they wanted to avoid that because they know that the three trans narratives that have won Academy Awards, Boys Don't Cry, Dallas Buyers Club, and The Danish Girl, all culminate in a death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, rewinding a bit, back in 2021, Emma Stone and her husband, Dave McGarry, got wind of We're All Going to the World's Fair. And this was just a year after they started their own production company, Fruit Tree, which in the year since has produced such films as Julio Torres' Problemista, Poor Things, and Jesse Eisenberg's A Real Pain that just came out this year. So,
so terrible movies is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Real basic films.
Someone said some Poor Things slander.
Oh, that was definitely a joke.
sarcasm. Hard sarcasm. Those movies are bangers.
Yeah, we love poor things in this house. Let's make that clear.
It's true. Nah, unbelievable. Can't believe you hate Poor Things. It's so true.
Definitely
word.
Best film of last year. But
I'm putting this online.
I think they look for visionary films. 'Cause I think Problem Mista, maybe A Real Pain is the least visionary of the three, but it's also directed by Jesse Eisenberg. So it's like,
wow.
They probably have an in. But Stone and McGarry wanted to get into Schoenbrun's next project immediately and reach out to them, which is when they were given the script for I Saw the TV Glow. So I think they had already completed it by this time. Stone immediately fell in love with the screenplay, and they came on as producers, pitching the project. And I love this. They pitched this to 6 different studios and financiers, all of whom made an offer on the film. No one rejected this.
Wow.
That is wild.
I guess it's just because, this is... it's an abstract film that doesn't have a conventional narrative. So I'm happy, if a little surprised, that this was almost like a bidding war.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I think that tells me just a little spark of hope that cinema might not be dead.
Sure.
Well, it might also help to have Emma Stone in your corner.
That is true. It always does.
I think that's like kind of the allyship that we'd hope to see in the industry, if nothing else. Like, folks championing these voices that, deserve to be heard, and especially when it's something that the most people aren't going to get. It's such a risk, but it's such a beautiful, beautiful payoff, I think, to be able to say, like, we stood behind this and are very proud of it.
Well, it was announced in October of 21 that the film would be an A24 production with Schoenbrun directing. Shooting took place in New Jersey from July to August of 22. And while Schoenbrun initially chose to go back to their hometown of Ardsley, New York, a village 7 miles north of the Bronx, and film locales for inspiration for the film's setting, they instead turned to Wim Wenders, saying that the lurid color palette of Paris, Texas informed I Saw the TV Glow's otherworldly fluorescence.
I love the liminal nightmare zone, which is just called Average American Neighborhood.
Right.
It's Schoenbrun's from.
Yeah, I guess too. Like when I'm like, oh, this is New Jersey, but I'm also like, like the suburbs of New York, 7 miles north of the Bronx. I guess when I hear New York, I just think of New York City, not suburbs.
Yeah.
But I Saw the TV Glow premiered in the midnight section at Sundance back in January of this year, and then it also screened at the Berlin International Film Festival in February and South by Southwest in March, before getting a limited theatrical release on May 3rd, a nationwide release 2 weeks later on May 17th. Ari, I think this is probably the weekend you went to go see it. Yep. And then it got a VOD release in June. Critical reception was very positive. We are looking at an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes with an average score of 7.6 out of 10, and Letterboxd users have it at a 7 out of 10 or a 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
But Joe, what happens in this movie?
Okay, so we open at dusk as the camera is slowly moving down the suburban street, and we do see the glow-in-the-dark chalk drawings. So we're immediately setting a kind of darkness infused with brightly colored lights kind of vibe. So we move inside a house, and we see young Owen, who is played by Ian Foreman, watching a preview for a genre TV show called The Pink Opaque. And anybody who has watched Buffy immediately just clocks exactly what this show is.
Well, the font specifically.
Yes, the font is identical.
I was getting Buffy mixed with like Snick, like a Saturday night, like Nickelodeon.
Yeah, Are You
TV
Afraid
show.
of the Dark?
Yeah. I saw Pete and Pete referenced a lot too by Schoenbrun, which. Because that was Robyn or Ari, did y'all ever watch Pete and Pete when you were growing up? Because admittedly, that was not a show that I watched a lot. It was on when I was
I'm from the evil land of fens and swamps and like I don't know, bad teeth. Apparently, I'm from that trash island in the ocean known as the United Kingdom.
Wait, so no Nickelodeon over there?
Not really. We get imports.
I'm curious, Robyn. So does the nostalgia for the 90s genre TV show, does it still hit the same way? Like, or was it, oh, well, we got Buffy eventually, so I figured it out?
Oh, we certainly got Buffy. That was something we certainly got. It's the UK is slightly weird in that we have a handful of channels which just picked up things from overseas. So Buffy was big on the TV. A lot of the stuff was on ITV. And what this reminded me of regionally is that our equivalent to Nickelodeon was a channel which I believe still exists called CITV, which was children's ITV, and it had the slop, it had the slime, it had all of the stuff. It was basically exactly the same with the serial numbers filed off.
Sure.
And those are the same shows.
Nice.
But
Okay.
bear in mind that I'm only half aware of anything that anybody talks about, because people, not least that I was born in 2000. So whenever anybody asks me, have you seen this? Chances are I mostly know of it through cultural osmosis.
Right.
But
Okay.
that makes the way that I relate to I Saw the TV Glow very interesting, because I have analogues to it, which I am sure we will get onto when we discuss the film further.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that's the thing for me is like, I am relating to like the 90s children's TV nostalgia / Buffy aspect of it, but I also feel like that's one of the most surface level connections you can have with the film.
Absolutely, but it's there. I did mention to my girlfriend, who I did see this first time with, that I was thinking, I love how this is a film about what if Buffy the Vampire Slayer turned you trans. And my girlfriend turned to me and looked me dead in the eye and said, well, we know the answer to that if it's a question. You then go on to make the film I Saw the TV Glow.
It's like, oh, so your girlfriend just read you when you said that too.
She does this a lot, to be fair. She doesn't only read, she writes. She's involved in half of the stuff that I do.
That's amazing. So this is playing on a fictional, as far as I can tell, network called the Young Adult Network. But the most important thing about this is that this is just a preview. Young Owen, we will later find out, is not allowed to stay up late and watch the show. So all he is seeing is the sort of, hey, coming up this week, 20-second, 30-second commercial. But he is absolutely transfixed by this. Like, you can see in his eyes, he is discovering something, and he doesn't know quite what to make of it, but he wants more of it.
Oh, I love that feeling.
I know, right? That process of discovery where you just know something is going to be for you, and you just need to see it. You need it in your eyeballs.
That's also really, I love that, because it's throughout the film too, we get like the sense of the fear around it, because it's like an excitement, and it's like
Forbidden.
The more you get into it, the more real it gets, and like, what is it about me that's connecting with this? Like, I think that a lot of that obviously is much more, again, there's a lot of allegory here, but yeah, no, I think that just kind of that image of Owen being transfixed by just the preview. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I did grow up, watching things like Are You Afraid of the Dark? I did watch Pete and Pete, which is like just a very like surreal, really strange show. It just feels like it's in a different universe, and that's what I really like about their films so far, is like both I Saw the TV Glow and We're All Going to the World's Fair. It's like they're kind of in these contained bubbles of like a weird alternate universe where kind of like, I guess, our sense of identity and the things that we experience kind of bleed into dream logic a bit. So for me, I just really, that definitely captures, I think, that era of like Snick, like, the Pete and Pete,
Snick,
kind of like the offbeat stuff, and then like, again, like just the gooey spookiness at times of things like Are You Afraid of the Dark? And then obviously like just I think the Buffy through line is really a lot about kind of how you come to love these two characters, or how these, Maddie and Owen have come to love these characters and that feel more real than real life. And the 90s nostalgia is very strong for me when I watch this. And I totally understand, like, for some people, that's probably all they're going to get out of it. And that's the way that they connect to it, but which is why I really appreciate this film. I think it works on just so many
multiple levels. Yeah.
This is where I bring up the UK newspapers' responses to I Saw the TV Glow. Because I think those are interesting in this regard, on this specific topic. In terms of all that you get out of the film, I think there was a willful ignorance of the film's trans themes, not just because of I think it's largely because of the state of how things are in the UK sociopolitically. If anybody's aware at all, and has been on social media for the past half a decade or so, they'll know that there was a real bad climate in terms of how trans people are talked about here. As there is in the US, obviously.
But we don't have a prominent children's author who just gets on and spews hatred.
Very true. A prominent children's author whose word is gospel, according to major media outlets over here.
Including Max, who's like, oh, it's fine. We're going to still make that into the Harry Potter show.
Just disown that property, folks. Like, I don't care if you're excited to see it renewed with new actors. She makes money off of it, so fuck it into the sun.
Okay, so I'm not to go off my book, but like
I think Max would condone war crimes, to be honest.
Yeah, but I just I'm just genuinely not excited. All that aside, I'm not excited. I don't need another adaptation of Harry Potter. Like we've already those movies are as close to the books as you're going to get. But whatever.
The interesting thing about the UK newspapers' responses is, of course, you have prominent critics who have now seen this major release film, I Saw the TV Glow. Most UK newspapers publish articles every week that, no matter how progressive they put themselves forward as, somehow creating some stir piece about trans people. I Saw the TV Glow comes out, and every single review is, so, TV shows, am I right?
Oh my god.
Okay.
Wow.
This film's really good. It's all about liking TV shows. That's all there is. There's nothing else. No anything about wanting to be your true self or anything. It's just a film about TV shows.
Just TV. Nostalgia.
Well, but
wow.
I don't know how the hell you read it as that.
Do you think then that they caught up on the trans read, but then just chose not to write about it, or did they completely miss it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because there is an extraordinary amount of cis people, but mostly not people I know, who just completely did not notice it was a trans narrative. Which is slightly funny because the film is very unsubtle about this, even if you haven't been told beforehand.
Yeah,
and
truly.
I think that's wonderful.
Well, but on that note, that I suppose this film could act as a sort of Trojan horse, though. Like if you show, I mean, not to say like this is going to change anyone's minds on like their ideas of transness, but I don't know, just like what I was saying earlier, was like, oh, I feel sad and I'm not really sure why. Like I'm sure there's a connection to that where it's like, oh, the way you feel watching this movie is maybe not the same, but comparable to, I don't know, what a trans person feels going through the trans experience.
I think that's part of the design. I feel like this is a film designed very much. I mean, with We're All Going to the World's Fair, this almost feels like the case, but it wasn't intended. But it feels almost like replicating the very feeling of what dysphoria is.
Yes.
And at points, it actively aims to mimic this, and I think that's phenomenal, and those
Terrifying.
moments are ones which have haunted me.
Yeah. Yeah, I've read several readings, and I'll bring up one as we sort of move through. Actually, I should give reference. So I am going to draw from Caden Mark Gardner's piece, Cracking Up, on I Saw the TV Glow, The Influence of Twin Peaks, The Return, and Never Leaving Your Shell, which is from their Substack, which is called Looney Tunes in Drag, which I quite like.
It's amazing. I love that.
But I read a couple of different think pieces and editorials from different trans critics, and many of them were just like, this movie triggered me in like not necessarily a bad way, but you know, Robyn, it kind of sounds like we could put you into that group where you watch it and your brain just kind of melts because you realize this is the most literal example of an experience I have had in real life, only it is embodied on screen. And that is daunting stuff.
I mean, it's interesting because it's kind of a film which hurts in a way which fills up kind of the missing jigsaw piece space that you feel you needed but didn't know was there. I think that's my best way of describing it, and it's as close to describing it as characters within the film describe their own feelings.
Yeah.
Because that is, I think, the best way to describe just how effective this is, because it hurts and it needed to hurt.
Yeah. It's interesting, too, because Trace, I don't want to step on your toes if you have other quotes, but I did see that Schoenbrun says they don't always love seeing the movie described as a coming out tale, because I think that was one of the sort of genres that they were trying to avoid gently. I think it's probably still pretty applicable, but at the end of the day, what we're seeing is Owen grappling with his sense of self, but also never getting there. And that's actually what Gardner's piece is in part about, is just like, oh, the process of watching this movie where you hope that the character is going to make a discovery and get a happy ending, and then realizing it's not always that simple.
Yeah, I think that, Robyn, what you just said about like the missing piece, like something about the way things play out or are described, even just the dialogue, because it is at times very like a monologue heavy movie. And those are the moments that really like just started fucking me up, because I was just like, God, like just the language around what this experience feels like in the context of the Pink Opaque, but thinking about it as if someone is just talking about what it feels like to recognize these things about themselves and be very scared and feel it in their bodies and feel like something is maybe clicking a little bit because it feels so wrong. It's like the kind of like the veil is lifted. And I think that that's so scary, which is why it's hard to get people like out of cults and like, people who have had really bad abusive relationships with things like religion. Whenever you start seeing, oh, there is another side that's possible, it is really scary. It's that cognitive dissonance of, oh, well, I can keep believing this thing that I believed and my life can just kind of stay predictable, or I can take this other journey and take a pivot and potentially experience a whole different type of life. But it's very scary. And I think that that's something that I've, just kind of in my professional, my day job work, I hear a lot, and it is very scary. And there's a lot of, I think, fighting within ourselves. And I think even just generally, I don't identify as gender diverse in any sense, but there are parallels that I felt around recognizing my queerness growing up, especially because Buffy was such a big part of that for me. And recognizing, like, what is it that I love about watching these women kick ass? Like, why is it that makes me feel so empowered? And that was a complicated time, too, because, Robyn no, Robyn didn't say this. I'm sorry, that you were talking about not having Nickelodeon ever and like living in the woods or whatever. What did you say? Being rural in the UK.
Yeah, it's just hills. It's just hills and like, evil fucking like holes in the ground and like
So yeah, no, I mean, it's just like a very different experience. I think it's how we can gravitate towards some of this material. And like, for me, like it felt like an empathic point of understanding in a way that I don't think I realized like I could relate to, and that I could really kind of understand viscerally, particularly with the trans folks that I serve and work with. So that's kind of, it makes sense to that for me, even as someone who doesn't identify as trans. But Robyn, to your point though, I did see I like briefly scanned a review from The Guardian, and it's a 5-star review, but they call this a 90s telly addict chiller set to be future classic. A 90s telly addict. And there's no mention of gender, no mention of identity in that sense. It's like a whole fucking review. It's like just bizarre. Like that is straight up willful ignorance. I just can't understand gender not being a part of it, because I think it is so like there are definitely very on the nose things that we see in this film that suggest this is going to be a big part of this underlying allegory.
Well, like literally. Okay, so the next piece in my plot synopsis is we go from young Owen watching this preview to then him wandering around the school gymnasium as a like trans bi parachute is being displayed with all of the kids. Also, Ari, I can't let it pass. I love that you low-key called heterosexuality a cult like 2 minutes ago. I died.
It's real. I props to you.
Well, I mean, a Freudian slip or whatever, it came out how it came out. Take it as you will.
to quote the legend Edie, the world of the heterosexual is a sick and boring life.
John Waters, there we go.
John Waters, he always comes up in my general life in conversation.
As he should, as he would want it. Okay, so we are getting, it turns out this whole movie is
Time Jump City.
Yeah. So we're actually hearing about all of these events in flashback, but I don't think that the movie ultimately like we flash back from old man Owen, who will be played by Justice Smith, and he's just kind of out doing his thing at the campfire in the woods by himself for the better part of the film until we kind of like catch back up with him.
Oh, also, I have to note on that part, it's very Are You Afraid of the Dark? Because he throws the, he makes the fire kind of roar by throwing the, I don't even know what it is that they throw on it.
I thought it was just sand, but sand doesn't make fire like boom like that, does it?
Mostly I'm noting that he's just like 20 years late and nobody... He should have turned up when we invited him.
What are they throwing out? Oh, that is powdered non-dairy creamer. It's the magic dust. That's what they used for back in the day.
Okay.
All right.
Lesson learned.
Good to know. But yeah, no, that's very... I clocked that the first time I saw it. I was like, oh, I don't think I'm making up this reference point of Are You Afraid of the Dark? That feels like that was intentional.
Yeah. Okay, so when we do flashback after old man Owen says he started rewatching the Pink Opaque, and then it's like doodle doodle doodle. So we are on election night for 1996, and this is when young Owen connects with a older girl named Maddie, who is played by non-binary actor Bridget Lundy Payne, who P.S. is my MVP for this movie.
I really like them, but they also get like there's clearly a conscious decision to cast a younger actor as Owen, but not the same for Maddie. And I was wondering, but what did y'all think that decision was? Like, what were the reasonings behind that decision?
I mean, I guess I had a little bit of a thought yesterday whenever we were rewatching it. I've seen this movie probably like 4 times now. But for me, I think maybe it has to do with like, I do think it was intentional, obviously, in the sense of Maddie is able to be more of themselves at that time because they've already kind of cracked open the world a little bit more to what it looks like to be consumed by the Pink Opaque. Mm-hmm. And so we're already seeing more of, quote unquote, like the authentic or more of the authentic Maddie even at that age as a 9th grader versus Owen as a 7th grader. And so it's not until Owen starts getting introduced to the show more that we see the shift in the character, like the actor. So something about that to me kind of worked as far as kind of the understanding of why Lundy Payne would be playing both roles, but not Justice Smith.
I think that there's a really interesting aspect to the casting in this, which makes this specific decision really stand out, and I think it's one of the most upsetting and effective ideas in the film, which also acts to decoding what Justice Smith's performance later on is, which is that Owen doesn't age internally. His body does, but he doesn't. And it's really, really quite upsetting, and it's one of the most uncomfortable elements of the film. And the more that goes on, the more you realise kind of this sense of your body aging faster than your brain is, almost.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. That is so real. And I think that actually is a great point, because that plays into kind of the bigger concerns. And this is, from what I've learned over the years, is just like the aspect of time, of feeling like, is it too late for me to own this side of me and to explore it and to explore that reality, or is my body, is time going so fast that it feels worthless because my body's just too old, too evolved in this current state that wasn't authentic to begin with, that I can't do anything about it.
Yeah. That's actually one of the big highlights of Gardner's piece. So they talk about the concept of stalling, which is what happens with Owen, where he makes this discovery about himself via the Pink Opaque, via his relationship with Maddie. And then at 2 different points, he decides not to go with her, and he stalls his life. So he doesn't mature emotionally. He never graduates to become his authentic self. And that's really what the back half of the movie is this lost time where he's living technically. He talks about getting a job and having a family and getting a bigger TV and all this stuff, but he doesn't look any different. Like, I think there's a very purposeful decision to not have really egregious old age makeup, or even to use an older actor or something like that. And it's because we're meant to see that Justice Smith is the exact same, because he never truly ever lived his life.
Well, and so I have this quote from Schoenbrun on Owen and Maddie, and they say, Owen and Maddie are two sides of my own experience with the process of gender transition. By that, I don't mean the actual transition necessarily, but the process which starts at the beginning of one's life, when one is born and socialized into the wrong identity. The two characters and the two characters in the Pink Opaque have two different responses to this destiny, quote unquote. Owen and Isabel are scaredy cats, afraid of their own shadow and hesitant to journey into the unknown. And Tara and Maddie are badasses. They are somebody who's willing to trust their inner voice and this understanding that they have something that is wrong, and they are willing to journey into the unknown.
Yeah. And it's tough, right? Because it's easy for us to sit here and say, oh, this movie tells us we should be Maddie and Tara. And I think that that's really easy from a spectator point of view and also from a cisgender point of view to be like, yeah, that's a tough decision, but you got to be real, man. You got to do the thing that you got to do so that you can be who you're truly meant to be, as though there isn't pain and suffering and fear associated with that.
I think that's something that any queer person, be they trans or gender diverse or not, can relate to. Because I remember even when I was younger, and like when I was because I came out when I was 16, and I remember being 17, and I knew there were other gay guys at the school, and they wouldn't come out, and I held a resentment against them because I was like, I did this, why can't you? Like, why can't you join me out on this island over here? And that's obviously not a fair reaction to that. But I think it's relatable to the same thing of watching what Owen's going through. It's easy to say, come on, just do it. But it's not that easy.
There's a privilege there that I think is really easy from especially from, I think, like a cis, very progressive, well-intentioned side of being like, no, it's okay. Be yourself. And walking through, if you were to walk through a day of potential risks that some of these people face when they are themselves and what they, expose themselves to, there's obviously a sense of it that's beautiful and freeing. And then there's a sense that's and I still have to operate in the world as it is. And for some people, again, Trace and I grew up in Texas. I grew up in the Bible Belt, and it's not safe to do that. No. And I actually had a very interesting experience, and this is kind of a tangent, I guess, but it's kind of clicking with me differently now. But I very recently was home for a wedding, and I ran into, there was someone who was there who was in the closet with me in high school, who was a good friend of mine for a bit until he wasn't, until I got outed and I basically got kind of
ostracized,
scapegoated. Yeah. It was
and
kind
they
of
had to be I don't know this person.
I don't know that. Yeah, no, that was just him. I didn't do anything like that. And so this has been 20 years in the making. We kind of had a really serious conversation at a gay bar about that, and just kind of I don't know that I realized how much I felt abandoned in that moment by having someone not join me on that island, and really feeling put out as bait and a diversion. And it was just really fucking a horrible thing that I don't think I realized how much that being unresolved and feeling we had this chance to do this thing together. And we didn't. And that just really fucking sucks. It's really hard, and it's hard to not have resentment. And part of me has even tried to realize what is it about how he, his experience that maybe made that harder for him to just own the way that I did. And so, it's really complicated, but I appreciate those perspectives, because that's something here too with the Maddie Owen relationship of him, just the moments of backing down and being no, I can't do this. You're going to have to tell my dad for me that I've been lying. You're going to, so that just kind of felt, it hit differently this time, having had that recent experience, I think.
Today's episode is presented by Ice Cream Man. In theaters August 7th from the horror section. Writer and director Eli Roth wants you to cool off this summer in Baleen Bay, an idyllic small town that melts into sheer terror when an ice cream man serves up soft serve sweets with harrowing hardcore horror. Ari Miller stars as the titular terror, topped with music by Snoop Dogg and effects by Oscar winner Adrian Moreau and Steve Newburn. Say it with me, folks. I scream, you scream. We all scream for Ice Cream Man. In theaters August 7th. Get tickets now.
What's interesting, too, because the first time I saw this film, I felt like I was unsure why we get a couple of scenes with Owen's mom, who is Brenda, played by Danielle Deadwyler. Fantastic actress. I love that she's basically on the ascent. She's having her moment. But I was like underwhelmed by Brenda as a character. You know, in the world of YA, we're used to seeing absent parents, so I wasn't too surprised. And I felt like the use of Fred fucking Durst as Owen's father, Frank,
Limp Bizkit is here.
It's so bizarre.
Wait, I'm sorry. Are Fred Durst and Limp Bizkit the same person?
Fred Durst, Limp Bizkit's not a person, Trace.
Oh, sorry. Y'all.
Limp Bizkit's a band.
Y'all, no, I
He's
know.
actually a biscuit.
I thought that Limp Bizkit was like the lead singer of the band Limp Bizkit.
Oh my God.
Trace, sometimes I don't know that you really thought these things. I think sometimes I don't know where you pulled
It
this
sounds
shit
like a name.
It's true.
It's like Mr. Melancholy, only for the band Limp Bizkit.
To be clear, the only reason I knew who Fred Durst was because he's mentioned in an Eminem song. Like, he has to sit
Yes.
that's the only way I know who Fred Durst is.
I remember when Eminem just like started rapping about the dad from I Saw TV Club. That was my favorite thing of his latest album.
Imagine.
Well, and it's so funny because I don't think, I mean, if you're familiar with Fred Durst, like obviously everyone is except for me, I don't think it's like fully obvious that that's also who this is in this role, because
No. It isn't.
I didn't know.
Well, because Schoenbrun goes out of their way, because we do see Fred Durst's face, but like they also don't like focus on it. Like it's usually in the background a lot for a lot of the scenes.
Which is purposeful, right? Like Frank is meant to be the kind of naysayer. He's the gatekeeper in the house, which is why I ultimately appreciate both Danielle Deadwyler as well as Fred Durst in their respective roles on repeat watches, when you understand, oh, they're meant to kind of be there, but there are hurdles in Owen's journey, because even though Brenda is very supportive of her son, she's overly protective, and she defaults to this man who clearly is absent, disengaged, doesn't really want to be here, but also, is that kind of like gender normative person where, you know, oh, you watch something weird, I'm going to call you a girl.
This film gave me a real new appreciation that I didn't have before for Fred Durst, simply just because he did this. And I think that I believe he only says one single line throughout the entire film, but he is such an intimidating presence that it's just... We'll probably mention it later, but it's just, you see him, even just in the pauses and the silence, and your stomach just drops.
Yeah.
Because you know what he signifies, and you just know the vibe that he gives off. He also looks like J.D. Vance, and it's kind of unsettling.
No, too soon, Robyn.
He has a wide face. He has a wide face, and he sits on the couch.
He's not even in office yet. How dare you bring that man's name into this conversation? No,
we need a banishing spell right now.
It's that shot whenever Owen comes home and he's just sitting on the couch and just staring at him.
Says nothing.
But it looks like, I mean, he's almost like in a trance almost, but it's like a very threatening trance.
It's very like, it's like straight up out of a David Lynch movie. I feel like any moment that makes me feel like that, I'm just like stuck on like just one of these like side characters in Lost Highway or Mulholland Drive that just kind of stares or has a really freaky look to them. Like, he freaks me the fuck out in this.
The most unpleasant thing about him in the couch scenes is that he's clearly made up in a way he wasn't in the previous scenes to look like Mr. Melancholy. That's explicitly signifying a comparison between the two.
The oppressor.
Yes, indeed.
So all this to say, in order for Owen to gain access to that sweet, sweet pink opaqueness, he more or less has to lie. So what we do is we make up this excuse that we're going to do sleepover at Johnny Link's house. And then when mom drops us off, what we do instead is we trudge through the rain so that we can go and watch the show with Maddie, as well as her friend Amanda, who I did not realize because I first saw this movie in the theaters. And, you know, obviously you can't pause it. You can't really like check anything until the credits play. But this character of Amanda is played by Emma Portner, who also plays Mr. Melancholy.
And one of the hench monsters. Yeah. I think it's like Polo, maybe.
Oh.
Yes, it's either Marco or Polo. So she's playing multiple roles in the film.
And
but
they were married to Elliot Page from 2018 to 2021.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. I do love that our introduction, like Amanda's not really a character. She will disappear in like 2 scenes, but our introduction to her is talking boys with Maddie. And you can tell that Maddie is not particularly interested in this conversation.
Yeah, I love that intro. I think it just kind of is a nice juxtaposition of Maddie being in a specific period of her own, growth and her identity, but still trying to kind of like hold on to maybe this friendship.
Yes.
That seems to be seems to be veering in a different direction.
But then her dynamics with Owen, it's almost like she relishes getting to
show him.
Yeah, like teach, but she also acts a little.
It's like tough love.
Yeah, where he'll ask a question, she'll be like, no, obviously it's this. But
yeah,
why are you so stupid? Weren't you watching the show?
But I think that it's that aspect of Maddie that I relate to the most, though, because and Joe, like you've been on the receiving end of this, where it's like, oh, I make us cover a movie that or you as well, where I make us watch a movie where it's like, oh my god, this movie is so important to me. I love this movie so much. It's formative for my development as a person, like queer or otherwise. Now you have to love it too.
Truly. And if you don't, it's a deal breaker.
It's not a kids show. It's on the Young Adult Network, remember?
Yes.
It's very grown up. Kids can't watch it. It's too scary.
Mythology is way too complicated for most kids. So, like,
truthfully, though, I think the line in this scene that really just spoke to me was, "It's not a cigarette. It's a Black and Mild." Because I have definitely had someone tell me that when I was experimenting with cigarettes as a teenager.
Yeah.
This is the point, as good as any, where I bring up my Pink Opaque.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because I vaguely alluded to this earlier.
Okay.
Everybody points at me and say British. My Pink Opaque was Doctor Who.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I could see
That's
that.
like a universal one, though. Like, it's obviously distinctly British, but it has such a power worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing about this is a show which has meant a lot to me since I was very young. I was introduced to it by my parents, weirdly enough, and it played such a deep role in every aspect of my life, and still kind of does. It's weird how much of my life has come together because of that show, whether directly or indirectly. But the thing which really makes it my Pink Opaque is that Doctor Who has a weird production history and a weird availability history. So, for those of you who don't know, Doctor Who has been running since 1963.
That's why I've never started it, because I was like, there's so many episodes.
Oh, no, you don't have to start from the beginning at all.
It is and trust me, I would not recommend starting from the beginning. It starts out weird. But the entire thing is that much of the series had been only vaguely available for a long time. Obviously, some of the episodes are lost, some of them... most of them are now available to stream in one way or another now, which comes up in I Saw TV Glow with Pink Opaque.
Right.
But as a child, I did not have access to most of the show, and I was a fan of the show before I watched it. Because I had experienced the show secondhand through exhibitions of the props, through books and magazines, and I came into it kind of in a similar way that Owen comes into the Pink Opaque.
Right.
And the thing which sells me most is the episode guides.
Yes.
I knew every detail of the show, every episode, including missing ones, from reading episode guides. And I have these books with extensive behind-the-scenes detail called stuff like Creatures and Demons and so forth. And it's just... That hit me like a freight train in the cinema because I thought... I've been here.
Yeah. How dare you? Who told you this about me?
They wrote a whole film about you.
It's true. It's true. To be fair, we're all going to the World's Fair at times felt like my biography, so I thought maybe someone had leaked all my info to Jane. That's right. I guess it's just a shared experience, about couple or maybe a generation apart, but I know history repeats itself.
Yeah.
Truly, yeah. So, yeah, obviously the experience of watching this show is kind of similar to what we've described respectively with either Buffy or Doctor Who. Owen's transfixed look continues throughout this. And yes, he doesn't entirely grasp everything. Maddie does have to explain some of the nuance, some of the mythology and so on. So we'll quickly go through the premise of the show in case people haven't seen the film, but it does pay off in a number of ways as you make your way through the narrative. So yeah, the Pink Opaque is about Isabel, who is played by Helena Howard, as well as Tara, who is played by Lindsay Jordan. They are best friends, they share a psychic connection, and they live on opposite sides of the county, but they fight the forces of evil together. And the logo of the show is a neon pink ghost emblazoned like a tattoo on their respective necks. And yes, as we said, the font is the same as Buffy, but, it's got a monster of the week, as well as this villain big bad, Mr. Melancholy, who is a face that appears like George Méliès's A Trip to the Moon, and he can control time and space.
I shall state a couple of things here. First of all, it's notable that the terms Monster of the Week and Big Bad are used in the film.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
That's an important thing, and is one of my favourite details, because it's just such attention to detail. Secondly, there are 2 points of reference for Mr. Melancholy, the latter of which is probably more direct. And that is, Mr. Melancholy is an extended reference to the Smashing Pumpkins album Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, specifically to the song Tonight Tonight, which mimics the A Trip to the Moon almost shot for shot in its entirety. I think this was all basically to say that what the fuck is going on with Billy Corgan?
I'm so happy that we have 2 music people on this episode.
Truly. Yeah. We haven't even gotten into the musical parts yet.
Well, we've already got it.
Such a huge... I just love that. I also clocked that too, like the first time I saw it, and I was like, this is just such a 90s. It just like drives home that vibe to it, if nothing else.
But not like a bullshit Stranger Things version of the 90s,
no,
where you're just like, look, leg warmers. There, we did the 80s, right?
It's very intentional and smart, and it's just like thoughtful, I feel like it, like through and through.
Yeah. So one thing I want to acknowledge, because it's definitely not anything I clocked the first time I watched the film, but so we're going through with the pretense of the sleepover, even though Johnny Link is never on screen, and we will never really find out anything more about him except that Amber Benson is his fucking mom.
Right.
So
Johnny Link doesn't exist, and he's in the same universe that Amanda was eaten up by the darkness overnight. Right. So I think that's what happened. I think everyone's just going missing around here. It's kind of a Jen Schoenbrun theme.
Right. Yeah. People just kind of disappear when their narrative is done. They disappear into the darkness. But
I'll have more to say on that later as a recurring theme once that actually happens.
Okay. So before they do go to bed, so Maddie ends up making this offhand comment about her stepdad breaking her nose again. So this was like, it's a blink and you miss it. We don't really talk about abuse any other times explicitly, at least from Maddie's perspective. But I'm going to bring Gardner back in here, and they say, abuse, depression, isolation, migration, and suicide ideation make up a lot of Maddie's character, yet her pain feels less dread-inducing as, say, many tragic trans characters in cinema history. Her trans narrative is the more relatable one, and one that Schoenbrun withholds from viewers because Owen's trepidation keeps him at a distance, preferring to look at the world from his television screen. So it's interesting because obviously we will get a transformation, like a physical transformation into a more sort of androgynous, butchy look when Maddie returns after her disappearance. But like initially when I wrote this plot synopsis, I used they, them pronouns because I thought that that's what we were suggesting. But the character is always referred to as she. But I love that in some ways we do have this multiplicity of trans narratives, as you said earlier, Trace, represented by both Owen and Maddie. So, she sits on the stairs in silence. He lays in his sleeping bag. We talk a little bit more, and we hear Maria BC's taper, and then Owen goes home in the morning, and he is matched with Isabel in scenes from the Pink Opaque. So visually, we're representing young Owen, or just future Owen, with the character of Isabel from the show. And then we cut ahead 2 years to 1998.
I should note, before we move on, that there is a line specifically before Owen leaves, where on the stairs, Maddie says, "Sometimes the Pink Opaque feels more real than life itself." And that was the moment. That was the specific moment pinpointed. That was the moment her heart exploded with me, because this is the moment which basically kicked me in the head the first time watching. I cried upon that line, and my brain could not process the rest of what came until like a week later. That is a feeling that I can relate to, of kind of that escape and finding, even though I must state, for the sake of everything, I have a good home life. This was true. I did struggle when younger, and sometimes the show did feel more real than life. I know Jane Schoenbrun described this as a movie for people whose best friends growing up with TV shows.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think that hits the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, I remember strategically, I mean, I was not a popular kid. I was not a socially active kid. So it's not like I had a plethora of friends and many options to go and do things. But I literally organized my life around genre television. Like, the concept of going out on a Friday or a Saturday night was inconceivable because there were shows that I had to watch. And I didn't want to run the risk of recording them on my VCR for fear that the tape would not play or something would go wrong.
I get that. Yeah, I remember very specifically. I played like community basketball before I started playing with school growing up. I didn't have a lot of friends, any. So again, TV was very much like my friend, and horror movies and things like that. Books, series of, again, and it was always stuff that was very fantastical. Like Buffy was my go-to show. It like any bit of confidence I ever had was because of that show somehow. And it's like very strange considering like I wasn't a very confident person for a long time, but it was so important to me. Like I would play these games on Tuesday nights sometimes, and I would be really like stressed that my mom wouldn't like press record, or like my brother or whatever. Like at the time, for a bit, I wasn't even allowed to watch it. So even then I didn't even have anyone.
You didn't have a Maddie.
Who could do that for me. Yeah. So like, I mean, even like early with Buffy, because my parents were very, very into the church, to bring it back to that cult, but, very into, wanting to make sure, like I couldn't even read Harry Potter at the time. So it was that kind of scenario of like, no, this is anything that's magic and is evil. Anything that's fantastical is evil. And for me, that was just like, that made it even more appealing. And I wanted to be able to access it because those things all felt more interesting to me than like the things I was having to do to be part of just like normal life. Yeah. And definitely they took priority over social stuff. But again, I didn't have a lot of options either, Joe.
Okay, so we made the time jump, and now Owen is being played by Justice Smith. When we catch back up with them, we are at a fair. So, hey, I see you.
We went.
We went
to the world. And we went.
We went. We got cotton candy, and I will say, I said that Bridget was my MVP for the film in part because I think they have some of the trickiest sections, like the monologue I find devastating. Yeah. But Justice Smith is doing a different performance than I have ever seen him do. Like, I have seen a lot of Justice Smith titles, and this is completely different from anything I have seen in his other vehicles. So, like, the voice is monotone. And the affectation is flat and static. Like, it's just, there's so much self-hatred and misunderstanding about who Owen is. And it just radiates off the screen to the point where I feel sad and even occasionally uncomfortable. And I do want to talk about how the breaking of the fourth wall makes us feel as an audience, because I think that contributes to it as well.
I think I remember reading some takes on the film after it was released where some people really didn't like that. Some people were like, I could have done without like just the breaking the fourth wall and kind of expository little bits. But I actually really I liked it. It felt like diary entries. really,
Yes.
in kind of this very reflective way, even kind of like because even Owen in some of those moments feels removed from what it was, and then sometimes is like very clearly impacted by talking about some of this.
He's also, I mean, like, I guess for me, it's like he's talking to nobody. Like, he has no friends, he has no social life. So it's almost like his life is a movie. Like, when y'all were growing up, did y'all ever feel like you were, like, your life, like, you were like in a Truman Show type? Like,
always.
And I don't know. So for me, I know that may not be the actual intent, like the literal intent of what those fourth wall breaking moments are, but that's kind of how I felt, where it was like, oh, like, you're just making up friends to talk to. So you're talking to the audience watching your life. And so that's how I connected to that.
Yeah. I think there's also like conspiratorial is not quite the right word, but he is confiding in us. So Trace, I think it's a variation of what you're talking about, which is he's telling us because he has no one else, but then by implication, we are involved in this. Like, so we're drawn into his saga. We have to engage in empathy with him because he has no one else. But also I'm just like, I don't want to be pulled into this with you because you're so sad. Like, I feel extreme empathy for this character. And also, I find Owen challenging because I think he doesn't like himself. And sometimes I don't like him as a result. But also he it's like holding a mirror back up to myself where it's like, oh, you see yourself in his behavior. And it's like, well, there's a reason you don't like it.
Yep.
Because you don't like yourself.
Spot on.
One of my favorite things about the breaking of the fourth wall in this film is, and one of the reasons why it is so uncomfortable, is because this is Owen and Jane Schoenbrun by extent letting the audience know that this involves you.
Yeah.
It's you as a viewer are implicated in what this film is saying. It is a quiet way of doing it, weirdly enough for what it is. But it kind of primes you to be aware that what the film is doing directly concerns you and the questions you ask in your own life.
I love that.
Yeah. So I'm going to argue the sort of most energetic filmmaking in this next section as Owen tells us that Maddie would leave him tapes. So we get a long take tracking shot as he goes through the school. We get the pink chalk drawing on the actual screen of the video cassette, different episode titles and descriptions. And this feels very fun montagey. It's like, enjoy this reprieve because a lot of the rest of it is not going to be this happy.
It's very dour. Moving on.
Song. Oh my, the music.
Yeah. When are we going to talk about that?
Take off.
I think we're getting to a point where that is like such a living part of this film.
We have to talk about Caroline Polachek.
Yes,
it
please.
comes up because that song has been regularly listened to by me ever since watching the film. That was the first time I'd heard it, and I think those speakers were about to just obliterate my body into dust. It is just overwhelmingly wonderful.
Can you explain a little bit why? Maybe not be the right question. How? Wow. I don't know. Elaborate more.
For some context, this entire sequence is accompanied by a song with the amazing title of Starburned and Unkissed by the artist Caroline Polachek, which plays throughout this scene, and it kind of starts out with this kind of sweet, understated, but kind of calm nature, and then the synthesizers come in. And this entire scene just has these kind of wailing siren song vocals just yearning for someone who's not present, whilst these synthesizers just kind of buzz throughout the entire room, and it is just a phenomenal just feeling of complete elation. It's such a powerful piece of music chosen, and the lyrics are just wonderful and fit it so well. One of the lines is, "My heart's a ghost limb reaching," which I think just sums up the entire nature of the film's dialogue and kind of strange poetic half-turns to describe feelings you can't quite put a finger on.
I love that you've said all of that. That is just so, like, this is just part of what whenever I encounter a movie that really takes its soundtrack, and then I say soundtrack very intentionally because this film is like very much like a early aughts, late 90s compilation soundtrack, and
It's a mixtape, right?
it's very much a mixtape. It's the Caroline Polachek, that this song in this moment of just kind of the montage, it captures, you know, Robyn, like you said, I've listened to this soundtrack so much. It's just gorgeous. And I think the part of what works with so many of the songs, especially this one, is the juxtaposition of kind of this dreamy, nostalgic sound that can be soft and fun and almost like reminiscent of what it feels like to be a young person, a teenager.
Yeah.
And they're also like equally, there's just like battle cries. There's just like really jarring instrumentation. We see it again later in the scene when Maddie, or later in the film when Maddie and Owen reunite at the bar. And it's basically like a very Twin Peaksy, we're actually just going to showcase the music for a while. And I like that because it really, it's telling us this is important too. This isn't just to pass the film along. Like,
it's not just a music video.
Relevant. Yeah, it's thematically relevant. And like, yeah, the lyrics for so many, and one of the early in the film, and it plays again at the end, one of my favorite songs ever in the entire world is Anthems for a 17-Year-Old Girl by Broken Social Scene. And that is cover here, and it plays twice. It plays at the beginning and end, and the artist is Yule, I think.
That's so funny because I clocked that song name when I was taking my notes, but I didn't even think about it. Whenever Ari and I were like dating, like that was the first time he went to he like flew out of town to go to a concert by himself to go see Broken Social Scene. So like I know that band name just for that reason alone.
It's a big thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're big Canadian band. They've been around for a very long time, since the early aughts, but there's so much about them. And even like just that song back in the day, it got me through like high school. It got me through a lot of really dark periods of just like, I'm going to escape into this dreamland that's also a little bit sad and a little bit dark, but it's kind of like my comfort space.
Yeah.
And it could be both. And I like that because it's like the reality of being a teenager is just like from one day to the next, you can totally change your feelings about everyone in your life and everything and your outlook. And it's so volatile that I think that the music is really, really beautifully paired and curated here, with, you know, whether it's the Anthems is very much a dreamy song that builds, and it tends to leave people feeling kind of nostalgic and wistful already. And so this updated version, I actually really like it. I think it does some different things than the original does, but it really suits those scenes. Like and again, the parachute, you know, sitting in the parachute in gym class, man, those are some of my favorite memories ever.
I loved Parachute Day.
Yeah. So, and I don't know if that's a universal thing, but it was very specific.
We have that here. We have that here.
There we go.
It was great.
It's one of the few things we have in amongst like gruel and like
Parachute.
No Nickelodeon.
It's not just all gruel,
But parachutes.
It's not all gruel. We get a little bit of parachute in there as well.
But Ari, I love that because something you said just clicked, you know, because I also clocked the song, but I was like, this doesn't sound like the version that I know because it's obviously a cover. But back at the beginning in 1996, when Owen first meets Maddie, she observes that she likes election night and calls it special because she says the school gets transformed into something else. And that's what you're talking about. The cover is something that we're familiar with that has been transformed.
And also, I just love that being like something that Maddie likes. Like, it's like something in my normal life gets to become something different. And dear God, what a reprieve that feels like.
Because change can be scary, but it can also be exciting and good.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got this high point moment for Owen because he is secretly consuming the Pink Opaque on tapes provided to him by Maddie. And things are going well, but, you know, we still have to kind of undercut this with some darkness because we see him watch the tapes at home. And the minute he hears somebody coming home, like we're watching them at night with all the lights off. And if somebody comes in, we're ejecting that tape, we're hiding it. Like, this is secret porn level. Don't let anyone discover me watching this.
100%.
So we also learned that, like, the reason they're doing this is because they're not friends. It's just that Maddie wants to make sure that he can watch the show that they both love, but they never talked again after that one sleepover night. So eventually he does end up tracking her down on the empty bleachers, and it's mostly because he wants to watch it live. He doesn't want the process of just watching a facsimile, right? He wants to watch it live with her and experience it in real time. But this is also the point in the film where all the sexuality stuff comes out. So Maddie says, well, you know that I like girls, right? And also Amanda has fucked off because, much like you said, Ari, there was a falling out where even though they were both queer, Amanda could not handle it.
She told everyone Maddie tried to grab her tit.
Which is funny because it immediately badly reminded me of that line from Mean Girls with Janice Ian, where it's like, oh, her dream is to fall into a pit of big girls or something, that kind of stuff. And you're like, oh, that's the funny way of taking it. And then this is like the real way.
Oh, yeah.
But I do love this moment where Maddie asks Owen, you know, what do you like? And he says that he likes TV. And then he chuckles to cover up for the fact that it is an unusual response. And it's not the response that she's like, no, really, dude, I'm looking for some kind of genuine connection. Like, I want honesty here. And then he talks about how he doesn't even say sex. He doesn't talk about intimacy. He doesn't talk about girls. He just says, when I get that feeling, it feels like someone has scooped out my insides.
The hardest part listening to this was, you know, he says, I know there's something wrong with me, but then he says, my parents know it too, even if they don't say anything. That's the part that cut into my heart a little bit.
The bit which really, really cut into me was just kind of, if I don't look down under it, then I don't know if it's there or not. I don't think that's the exact phrasing. But it becomes very clear in one of the film's most explicit moments of this that this is a description exactly of the feeling of gender dysphoria.
Yeah, and I love that Maddie understands him better than he understands himself, because she says in words that she knows he will understand, she brings it back to the Pink Opaque, and she says, I wonder if you're like Isabel, you're afraid of what's inside you. I'm just like, oh, fuck, don't talk to me in the language of the show, because I do understand that and I do know what you mean.
That is the thing, right? I'm glad you mentioned that, though, because I feel like, I felt the most connected to this film when they were talking about their experiences through the Pink Opaque.
Which, again, is like, it's coded language, right? Like, this is all queer fucking shit. It's like, oh, I can't talk about my feelings, but I'll talk about the TV show, which is actually revealing my feelings.
What do you think the queer implications of Mr. Sprinkly are? I'll stop right there, you know?
Okay, so all this to say, we do reunite so that we can watch the Pink Opaque together. And this is where Maddie has a breakdown. Just casually watching a show, Owen is transfixed and Maddie starts sobbing uncontrollably. And this is a moment where I said, Owen, I fucking hate you, because this poor girl, like, you're there with her, you're sharing this space, she is having a reaction to this, and he does not know how to connect with her, so he just looks at her like, what should I do?
Live Owen reaction.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been the Owen in these. I have fully just watched someone sob next to me while we're watching a movie and not said anything. I don't know. I feel like it's such a private, like, intimate, personal moment that I don't want to be like intrude upon almost.
Okay, well, maybe let's unpack this. Do we think that Maddie, like, is this one of those things where she's just watching a TV show that is realer than real life and she's grappling with that? Or is this like, oh, this show is telling me something and I can't quite handle it? Like, what is the nature of her reaction? Because the film doesn't actually reveal what she's going through, because we are so focused on Owen's journey.
And we don't find out because Owen doesn't ask her.
Yeah.
There's another aspect to the film and to this scene, just in general, which kind of explains to how I relate to it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the aspects is that I'm trans. The other aspect is that I'm on the autism spectrum. And that is never explicitly stated in regards to any of the characters in the film. but you notice that there is a kind of understanding everything but not being able to interact with it in the way which people will understand.
Yep.
Right.
Which
Okay.
I sincerely felt.
Yeah, there's and this is kind of a research there's there tend to be some links now where there's instances of autism spectrum disorder or just kind of general neurodiversity being more prominent in gender diverse folks. And so that's something I actually picked up on too when I watched it. And I thought it was kind of, I really like how the film played with that, whether it was intentional or not, because it's, there's that bit of like kind of the communication struggle. Like there is a barrier to fully be able to articulate, this is what I'm experiencing internally, just because inherently it's hard to do that. Social communication and can be difficult. And you can speak more to this than I ever could, Robyn. So please chime in. But yeah, I think that that's just really nice to see, because there's something about it that whenever they do find a language that's shared that they can connect with each other, is you notice it. You see something kind of fall into place. And so it's kind of like it's taking these qualities about these people that others might view as being really weird or off-putting or hard to connect with, and them finding each other is just kind of like the brightest spot you could ever expect, being someone like that. Who can get it. And yeah, I think that works so well for me.
I mean, that's partially in a real life case for me why Doctor Who was my Pink Opaque, because it enabled me to talk to other people about something and express things through my enjoyment of something.
Mm-hmm.
That tracks so close. You two just broke something open for me, because because there's that really difficult scene when we jump ahead to 1998 and Owen is at the fair with his mom and she says, "You've been really withdrawn. Is it my little health scare?" And we'll come to learn that she has cancer. She's going to die from it. She's going to leave him with.
She looks like she had. I mean, because she's wearing I think she has a shaved head with.
She's
a cap
got her headscarf. Yeah. But he's really non-responsive during that too. And I think part of this is it's a similar feeling of, I know I should do something, but I don't know how to make that connection.
Well, and the thing is, too, I mean, like, 'cause we haven't talked too much about Owen's relationship with his mother, and Joe, I think you tapped on this earlier when it's like, she doesn't shield him from his father, and it's unclear whether or not Frank is abusive like Maddie's father is. I don't maybe think physically abusive.
Not on the same level, but he's doing emotional damage for sure.
Yes, and I don't know. I guess for me, I watched that scene. To me, I was like, well, I don't know. I kind of view the mom. I guess it's his mom, and yes, he loves her, but also his mom's not protecting him from his father. She's complicit in this, and so I almost read that scene as they don't have that connection because of his father.
Yeah, I think I definitely took it more as the difficulty accessing that kind of communication of emotion, of there's such big, complicated feelings inside of him, in general, that Owen just doesn't have a lot of language that, words, there are no words, kind of like what you two were saying earlier, Joe and Trace, about I think that there's a language that I didn't have that kept me from understanding this experience. And I think that that's actually not unlike what we see a couple of times in this film with.
Oh my God, I'm the Owen.
It forcibly becomes Owen.
Yeah. Maybe that's another reason why I do struggle with the film, is because I do see a lot of myself in some of his responses.
I need to not say the 4 words which my brain is screaming at me to say, because I know it would be wrong.
What is it?
What? Say the 4 words.
Still time.
There's still time. That's what I thought you were going to say.
How dare you, Robyn?
It's not too late, Robyn. Thank you.
God.
God. Leaving the recording to go and get tested.
But Joe, I know what you mean, though, because I mean, I have had I'll say this, I'll mask this up. I've had coworkers in the past that I have vehemently strongly disliked, but it's also I upon inspection, it was because they had the things I didn't like about them were the traits that I had, and the things I don't know, didn't really love about myself, and so I saw it in them, and it was easier to hate them for it than deal with it myself.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
So in the plot of the film, we're still on this sort of second sleepover where we have maybe reunited over our love of the Pink Opaque. But Maddie had her breakdown, and then she tells Owen, I'm leaving. Like, I'm getting out of here. And his first, I love this, after the conversation we just had, his immediate reaction is, well, I won't have anyone to watch the show with anymore. And I think for her, she understands that that's the closest he could ever come to saying, don't go or take me with you. So she does. She offers to let him come. And she says, pack a bag, like, do the things, and we'll make our escape. And I mean, we also have this really nice bonding moment where she comes over and she draws the logo of the show in pink marker on his neck.
Ooh, but then and
that's such a nice moment. And then when he wakes up in the morning and realizes he has to go home to his questionable father. Oh man, just watching him so aggressively scrub it off to get rid of any evidence, and you're just like, you don't need to do that. Well, you don't need to be this person. Owen. Well, you can be yourself.
I think in this particular moment, he does need to be this person.
He does.
Yeah. It reminds me, that reminds me too, like I've had moments too where I've been out, like I would go out to clubs a little bit after I turned 18 my senior year. And before, but afterwards I would do it legally. And I had a couple of nights where I would come, stay with a friend, come home, and I had glitter still on me from whatever had happened, and like scrubbing that shit off, and it doesn't really come off, and being like, oh god, I don't need to be walking around covered in glitter, like, and exposing myself to people.
Is that where your glitter aversion comes from?
It's probably a big part of it, and it's probably why now I care less.
Yeah.
It used to really bother me to have glitter like stuck on me. And I think a lot of it has to do with that. I mean, it has to do with just kind of my own...
It's a symbol.
Internalized, like my own internalized homophobia in those moments of not wanting, and partially too, just like the need to code switch and protect myself in what I thought might be a dangerous situation.
Right.
Yeah, I literally did that the first couple of times I went to a gay bar, and I wasn't ready to tell my roommates, so I would rub off the stamp because I was worried that they would say, oh, what bar was that from?
Just make the straight man bar.
Truly, yeah, like the one with the big titties.
The cowboy hat.
And the beers. And the
football ball.
Jesus Christ.
The ball was there.
Game time. We scored. We won the game.
Okay, so in addition to that, we get the scrubbing, but then also when he leaves, this is the first time we will see Owen have, initially I clocked them as panic attacks, and then we have seen him with an inhaler, so they could be an asthma attack as well, but he is obviously super stressed out, so as he passes Johnny Link's house, he does end up ringing the bell and confessing, like he basically narcs on himself to Johnny's mother to say, you need to get me out of this so that I cannot go with her.
And Johnny's mother is just like, oh, my son's been missing for 10 years.
Do you have something to do with his disappearance? But that's a different movie. We're all going to the world.
But this is the do or die. This is the first do or die moment that Owen gets in this, where it's like, okay, your life could change drastically if you decide to go through with this. And for the first of two times, he will opt to not risk that change.
Yeah. So we get the voiceover that reveals that his mom passes away that July, and then Maddie disappears without a trace a few weeks later. And we haven't really talked a great deal about how beautiful this movie is or how haunting some of the images are, but something as simple as the TV on fire in Maddie's backyard with the police tape and everybody just standing around looking, hoping to get some gossip, and realizing Maddie's gone and nobody knows what happened to her. It's chilling and really evocative.
Well, and I don't think this is the correct read of this, because I brought this up to Ari last night when I was like, I think there's a more literal way you could take this, a more maybe less interesting way, where Maddie's father kills her and that's why she disappears.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think the movie's already dark enough that I would like to believe that...
let's not.
There's a notable detail which I think I can bring up now, but does apply more later, is what going missing signifies in Jane Schoenbrun's films.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings in We're All Going to the World's Fair as well.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a thread. I almost wrote an entire article on this. I might still.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a recurring theme of getting lost, in willfully becoming lost, just wandering out and disappearing into plain sight in Jane Schoenbrun's films. And going missing always signifies A, an escape from something, and B, a change in these. It's a largely implied one in We're All Going to the World's Fair, but it's clear that it is a changing of state. And it's something which I think is very relatable because I used to be in a fair number of internet horror circles when I was a teenager. I made a lot of very silly mistakes and so forth, and I met a bunch of wonderful people.
Okay.
Incredibly young on the internet, and one day I'm pretty certain I just disappeared.
Like from the chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
From a chat. Not in real life. I didn't slip
you're here,
in this case. Yeah. And I know it wasn't an intentional disappearance aside from me transitioning.
Okay.
But I don't know. Sometimes I wonder when thinking about Jane Schoenbrun's films, because I do have contact with some people from those days, like Lachlan Kelly, who I knew from then, is in the Estrogen Gospel in a brief voice role.
Okay.
But sometimes I do wonder how many people that I have known, do they know what happened to me when I went missing?
Right. Or did you just disappear from their lives?
Yeah. And there are so many people I'd love to talk to and say, hey, it's me, but it's just like, did I just disappear? Do they know I exist?
I love that perspective because I think like the places that our minds go, like I think about this a lot, and I think this really leans into also the nostalgia part of this, is like thinking about people that I knew back in the day, like when I was in elementary school or junior high, that maybe like I had like a day when like anyone that I could remember who was really treated horribly, I looked them up to make sure that they were alive. Like I genuinely was like very concerned about that.
I've done that too. Or people that were horrible to me, I just look to see if they're still alive for a different reason.
Right.
Yes.
But no, it's kind of one of those things though, like there are some people that feel lost, and I'm like, this person could be living a beautiful, happy life somewhere and just not on social media. But in my mind, like the last memories I have of them are of them just being kind of like isolated and a little bit bullied, and that's scary because in my mind goes like, well, what if
what
that
happened
was
to them?
Yeah, it's just, and so I think it does add to this kind of like spookiness, like this creepy mystery of not really knowing sometimes what becomes of people, and that it could just be this. It could just be they got out of like some really mundane cycle of life or an abusive cycle or whatever, and they're somewhere else just living a different life.
And that brings up an interesting thought for me, which has occurred to me before, is I was that person at school for a lot of time, and I realised that if people look me up like that, they won't be able to find me. Because it's different name, different approach, they'll have to ask around different people. But I always wonder, if there's school reunions, everybody talks about kind of going back to them, seeing how things have changed. Right. And I've changed so much that they might just not be able to find me.
Do you want that, Robyn? Like, do you yearn to go and say, this is who I truly am, this is who I always fucking was? Or is it more like, I made my escape and I don't owe that or I don't need that from them?
It's part of me wants it. Part of me wants it, but it's interesting to note in some ways, it's just like people are going to look me up and think, who was that who disappeared off the face of the earth? And in reality, I'm right here.
Yeah.
I'm right next door, basically. Like, I'm just in the area, but Just one little change of name,
Right.
and suddenly I've disappeared from the face of the earth. And it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I have a similar experience because, of course, I changed my name after high school. So I like to think that in some ways that's given me a different measure of anonymity. And then, of course, I talk about it on a podcast.
Hooray!
No, I think I love that too, because like there's something, I mean, even, and this is not obviously analogous to anything around like a big identity shift, but I have like a very separate life as Ari because of the you know, kind of the separation I need between my day job and the stuff that I do in film and horror, and not for any other reason other than like, I just prefer to keep them separate. I'd prefer for more often than not for people to not cross those lines super often unless I know them really deeply and trust them. But there's something about that I've thought before, like, what if I just got rid of all of my like real, you know, the things with my government name on them, like those accounts, and just lived as Ari? Like what would that be
just
like?
live in the woods.
Yeah, like, which again is like one of my dreams. The number of times I've told Trace that I want to like live in the mountains and have a farmhouse and like have like 30 dogs and some pigs and chickens and
I
stuff.
want to live in a cave.
The dream. Ari can live in a cave one day. That'll be my goal.
There we go.
I told you, whenever we get rich enough, we can go live in the woods outside of Napa and have a cabin there. That's what we can do.
And wine.
Yes.
I don't know if I want to go live in California. Anyhow, no, I think I just love that. You know, the idea of that is so fascinating too, because it's like, if people only know you in a certain way, and that's their only way of like trying to hunt you down or find out, you know, what you're doing these days and all of that, and they can't, it's just kind of like that age of the internet of like, oh, well, I guess I hope you're alive. Like, I don't, you know, like it's really kind of strange how a lot of, I guess like my sense of people does depend on if I can locate them still today online.
Well, it's weird too, right? Because the way we find them is digitally.
Yeah.
As though that is the true marker of a person who is living.
Exactly. And they're not like showing up at the grocery store, you know,
right. Well.
10 years later or whatever.
Wow.
So speaking of the final piece before we jump ahead 8 years is that we learn when Maddie disappears, that is also when the Pink Opaque gets canceled. So if we're doing this tracking of Owen and Maddie as synonymous with the show, when their friendship, their relationship falls apart, so too does the show get canceled.
It's just one line. He's like, his mom died in July, Maddie disappeared a few weeks later, and then that same year the Pink Opaque got canceled. Like, that was a rough year for poor Owen.
Yeah.
Just for worst year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a terrible year, but then we jump ahead 8 years and we get to see what life looks like for Owen. And this is just where you're like, oh, so this is rock bottom for the movie. Spoiler alert, it's not. But...
And so he's supposed to be like 23-ish around this time frame.
Okay, so now he is eating fast food where he can't even communicate with the person. He is getting down to power lines, delaying his drive home from the movie theater that he works at. One of the visual pieces that I really love about this section of the film is how Owen is isolated at almost all times. So we do see him with his shitty coworkers where he doesn't like to make eye contact with them because they fucking suck.
Including his boss, Connor O'Malley, who is a great, phenomenal internet personality and YouTube filmmaker, otherwise known as the rebranded Mickey Mouse. And if you know the relevance of that, then you know more than half the people on my film course who I somehow bring up Connor O'Malley to on the regular.
Well, there's cameo. I mean, again, you know, we've mentioned Fred Durst, we've mentioned Amber Benson, we've got this guy. I didn't even realize, too, Pete and Pete. Danny Tamborelli and Michael Morona are in this as the neighbors.
I said it yesterday whenever they pop up.
Wild.
Yeah. No, I mean, Schoenbrun clearly went out and said, I'm going to get all of these people. And if you get it, you get it. And if you don't, it doesn't hurt or harm the film in any way. But again, it's just that extra dose of nostalgia infused at every point of this film.
I saw a quote from them where they basically said, like, the cameos weren't just like cameos for cameos, like they deepened the themes of the film. And so
100%.
But then it got me thinking, you know, well, if they didn't include the cameos in the film, would that hurt the themes? Like, would they be less because of it by missing them? Or is it just a not an Easter egg? They're more than Easter eggs, you know?
I think they're intentional kind of tone setters. I think like we get a certain feeling when we see Amber Benson, being an understanding mother who wants to help him in that moment, even though it's brief. We remember what happened to Tara and Buffy. Like
exactly.
it hits us in the field. So I think that, and even just like I don't know that like Fred Durst being the dad was particularly like, oh, I didn't know I needed that.
Right.
But I kind of feel that way. Like,
but he's the shitty dad of all new metal.
Exactly.
That's the entire point. He's a generation shitty dad who is actually probably quite a nice person. And as such,
right.
It's involved in this.
And the lead singer of Korn wasn't available, I guess. So.
But you mean the lead singer of Korn's name is not Korn?
It is not Korn.
It is not. That'd be
John
Jonathan
Korn.
Davis. Yeah, Mr. John Korn.
John Korn.
His name is Limp Bizkit, yeah.
To be fair, I do always talk about the Saw movies as if the main guy and it's called John Saw. So that's... And he's called John.
Yes, 100%. All right, I feel like you do something like that too, where you just say... like the name of whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, no, yes, I get it. No, like Splice. I'm like, oh yeah,
it's Splice.
You look like Splice, which I mean the alien.
Because I said Dren the other day, and he was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "It's Splice." Oh, Splice.
Wow. The shorthand
Spookies
between
from the movie
couples.
Spookies.
Terrible. So Owen's life is basically it's hot garbage. Like, he is sleepwalking aimlessly through his life, which is often not interacting with anyone in any kind of meaningful capacity. So this is what he turned Maddie down for, until lo and behold, she turns up in the grocery store. And this is confronting. Like, Trace, I think earlier, I don't know if you'll end up having to cut around it, but you kind of balked at the British review calling this a thriller or something along that line. But when Maddie turns back up, it's a little bit freaky, because it's not that she looks different. Like, I actually think she looks amazing, but her posture and the way she reacts to him is otherworldly.
Like, yes, I did balk a little bit. This is one of those things where I would not call this a horror film.
I would.
Yeah,
I would put it under that genre umbrella where it's a genre film. But Ari, it's kind of like, it's that we've mentioned David Lynch this entire time. It's just kind of like that scene in Lost Highway that you show me all the time.
Oh, behind the garbage.
No.
Mulholland Drive.
Lost Highway, no, Mulholland Drive.
Lost Highway. It's the man with the
videotape.
eyebrows. Yeah.
Yeah, where he's just talking to Bill Pullman at a party. And it's not really like a scary movie, but like the scene is very unsettling and disturbing. And so I think
Bravo's scariest moments would disagree because it's in there.
Well, there you go. But nevertheless, but it's a thing where it's like, yeah, I think the vibe of this movie is unsettling, but I don't know. Oh my God, now I sound like one of those awful people that's like, oh, don't reduce it to just a horror movie, blah, blah, blah. I don't view this as a horror film. I don't view it like that.
I think that it is moving, like, it really is not interested in adhering to genre conventions.
Sure, yeah.
So it is pulling from a lot of, like, it's pulling from disparate sources to create a kind of universal language.
Yeah, well, I think it almost feels like its own, like the first of its kind universal language, which I think is maybe the barrier that I'm struggling with.
I think from this point onward, the horror is actually the most explicit of the entire film, because there's some really chilling shit.
There's some gnarly shit coming.
Yeah, once this idea, and because again, like, Maddie's resurgence isn't like, oh, hey, I'm back home, yay, let's hug and be happy. It's
She's
like,
so different.
I'm coming to warn you. There's something bad like that, or there's something that I've recognized that we need to do.
Yeah, the world is going to die if we don't.
Yeah.
Well, or we might die if we don't do it.
There's the horrible implication that Maddie has just appeared there.
Yes.
As well. And it reminds me a lot, or maybe has been there for a moment, but just hasn't fully phased into our reality. And it reminds me a lot of a scene in Mike Flanagan's very underrated film Absentia.
Oh, here we go.
Robyn, this is one of my all-time favorites. I love that.
It's a phenomenal film in which Doug Jones, lying on the floor, appearing to be like a homeless man by the side of like the tunnel, is turned to and acknowledged, and he looks up and says, you can see me?
Oh, it's so scary.
Yeah, it's really, really upsetting in so many ways, but it reminded me a lot of that because it's just like she has been acknowledged and now she exists.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so we move the action to a place that she knows that's off, the beaten path. So we go to the Double Lunch Bar. And yes, this is so obviously the Double R bar from Twin Peaks. I'm going to pass it over to Robyn and Ari because I feel like you're going to want to talk about the music here.
Well, because these are those scenes that you're talking about, Ari, where it's like, we have like basically a glorified music video, or a recorded music performance here, but it's not just for shits and giggles.
Before the film was released, it was just announced Fred Durst and Phoebe Bridgers in a new movie from Jane Schoenbrun.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, fucking what?
Fair.
No, totally. And this is where we see Phoebe Bridgers join Sloppy Jane. They perform Claw Machine, which I think, again, is such a beautiful song. Like, it is so... It captures a sense of nostalgia and also the sense of kind of like that adolescent isolation, like being in your bedroom. I paint my ceilings black so that I can't tell when my eyes are closed. Like, what a fucking like concept. And there's just something so angsty and wistful and just kind of, it's dark, but it's kind of almost innocent and, fantasy. So yeah, I think that the couple of songs that we see here in this moment that are very focused on, the performances are not just, hey, look at Phoebe Bridgers back there. And no, like Sloppy Jane, Phoebe Bridgers, this is like a highlight in the moment. Just as the scene right when King Woman, I believe it's King Woman doing.
Yeah, it's King Woman, yeah.
Barry right after. But gosh, I just love this. And I think I said this enough before, but I think it's just so representative of like the vibe, the energy that Jane was going for in this movie, that they were able to really, I think, like hit on some different nuances of with the ways that this soundtrack was curated. And yeah, I don't know. I just have a lot of respect and a lot of admiration for this scene and just kind of the soundtrack in general, because it really elevates this movie for me quite a bit.
Yeah, Ari, I love the fact that you said this music is so important because you're right. It really ties into the conversation that Maddie and Owen are having. I wrote down the question she asks him. So she says, was it just a TV show? Does he ever get confused, like his memory isn't quite right, or that time isn't moving normally? Does he feel like he's narrating his own life like an episode of TV? Trace, I think you literally said something akin to that earlier. And do his memories of real life get shook up in the memory of the show? And of course, if you're taking the film literally, as we said earlier, it does feel like Owen is tracking onto Isabel's arc, particularly when we get to watch this series finale unintended episode that ends in the giant cliffhanger and we see Owen, capturing a lot of what Isabel is going through. But the questions, especially the first time I watched the film, it very much felt like, oh yeah, I had that relationship with Buffy. And so this was another part of the film that I really connected strongly to. Okay. So Maddie has asked all of these questions of Owen principally because she's giving him a second try. But this time she clarifies, you can't tell anybody. But if you want to come with me and get to season 6 of the Pink Opaque, I'm going back there. And you just have to meet me at the high school tomorrow night.
This is frustrating. Just like, I get Owen, but I want to shake him so bad and just be like, just go, get buried alive. It's fine.
Just do that. Honestly, it's fine. It's never hurt anyone.
So he ends up going home. He ends up watching this series finale so we can kind of see some of the visual imagery that will pop up in his own journey.
Which this is where I think the movie's at its most horror leaning, which is ironic considering it's in this YA,
it's in the world,
children's program. But I think that just goes to show how legitimately scary some of those shows were. Obviously, Are You Afraid of the Dark? But so many of those, specifically the Snick era, Nickelodeon shows, were deeply disturbing.
Yeah. Like, we don't make children's entertainment that way anymore, do we?
No, I just recently made Trace rewatch the Salute Your Shorts Zeke the Plumber episode, which is like not... It's like, I think it's like the second or third episode of the series, and it's so fucking scary for like no reason. The show is not a horror show, but it's
really?
so scary.
And it's got the guy from Tourist Trap.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you know what I was going to say, because sometimes whenever he says Zeke the Plumber, like there's like a collective, like from people he's telling this to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and you'd think there's no way that a kid's show would actually end that dark. Well, James Schoenbrun has a specific point of reference, and that point of reference is the final episode of Jim Henson's Dinosaurs.
Oh my
and
God.
them all dying in the Ice Age.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's like the asteroid hits the Earth, and that's it.
I didn't know that. Oh my God, that's horrifying.
They
Well,
all
this is so dark. It is so fucking dark.
Yeah. I will say one of my favorite visual images from this film, though, is I don't know how we're doing this effect, but when we're seeing Mr. Melancholy talking to Isabel as she's being buried alive, the mask is disintegrating or morphing of some kind.
It's like alive, the mask.
Yes.
It's like moving on its own at times and shifting. It's freaky.
And then we have this visual language too, because, we have Mr. Melancholy being like, oh, you're going to love the Midnight Realm. It's such a wonderful, wonderful prison. But during that line, that's when we cut back to Owen as a child under that bisexual trans parachute. And so then it's like, okay, so is Schoenbrun trying to communicate that this parachute is symbolic of like the trap that he's in, like this life that he's in that he can't escape from?
Well, okay, so I didn't read it as the parachute because I think that's when he's innocent and he hasn't really figured things out. But Maddie does make a comment about a snow globe, and Mr. Melancholy actually has a snow globe with what looks to be a young Owen looking at a TV.
Yeah.
And that is the trap, I think. It's like, you could be here forever. You could be like a child and never actually become who you are meant to be as an adult.
There's an important detail is that when Mr. Melancholy finally appears, just the eventual appearance, that first shot, very few things have shut me up instantly like that since I saw the dream sequence in John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness.
Oh.
That is just an appearance of something where on sight that is horrible and wrong.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, same. One of the times I watched this, I was a little, I'd had an edible. And so
the film just killed you so on the spot.
It really will fuck you up then. Yeah, like just even because it shows for a bit just kind of like the imagery too of like these lead characters being tortured and the Marco and Polo with the distorted voices, and they just look even more grotesque. And then Mr. Melancholy, I remember just being so transfixed in the theater the first time, just lost in this moment, and everything that this Mr. Melancholy monologue that made me cry too, because it was so horrible. It's just this part of you, it's kind of I viewed it as a bit of an internal dialogue between this part of yourself that is saying it's okay to just let go and stop pursuing this thing. We're going to just keep you in this one contained space. It's just really sad and bleak. And for, and even just thinking if you were to have watched I don't know, Buffy season 5, and then it ends how it ends. And then you're just what the fuck? What happens? Where do we go from here? That's kind of how it feels.
Quite literally in season 6.
It's notable that the film makes a point of the meanness of this scene, and I do that. I also like that I think it's kind of grim that they were made to drink some non-FDA approved tie-in merch. Was just quite horrible. I do not want to drink the Luna juice.
Juice, yeah.
It looks vile. But there's just the entirety of this scene is just so overtly, openly cruel, and it almost makes you not realize that the aspect ratio gradually changes throughout.
Oh! Does it?
I don't think I realized that either, yeah.
Suddenly, Owen is in a VHS aspect ratio. And the Pink Opaque is in full screen.
Oh, maybe
It's
that's why it hits
real.
harder.
Yeah, it's just, well, I was gonna say, it's subtle, but it's not. It's literally changing in front of your eyes.
Well, but it's subtle enough that 3 of us didn't clock it.
Yeah.
It changes very, very slowly, but
Okay.
if you
Fascinating.
look, you'll notice it.
I'm terrible at noticing those.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do we think about Owen's reaction to this? Because as Isabel is being buried alive on TV, he has either a panic attack, an asthma attack, whatever you want to call it. And the fire alarm ends up going off, and Frank ends up coming down to find him being sucked into the TV, or the TV is emitting sparks and he is nearly on fire. We have to put his head into the shower. Like, what is going on here?
I took this as Owen wants to just go inside and live in the show, so he's shoving his head in the TV.
Yeah. I took it as him being like recognizing now the dichotomy, recognizing like, oh, this aspect of your life that is represented by this show, it's kind of like all the things when you were younger that kind of gave you maybe a little bit of like, I don't know, outlook on like what is possible in the universe, right? Like it's kind of like this fantastical show, and now it's canceled. And now you're being kind of reconfronted with it in this different way of like what it actually meant to you. And it was kind of your only outlet to this part of yourself that now you don't have anymore. And so I think that's partially what he's trying to reconnect with is like, no, if this is all I have left of that time, I need to just be there because this is not my home. Like I actually am needed there. I need to, I need to escape to that piece of things. I don't even know that necessarily is like him wanting to do anything about this recognition. I think it's maybe more so like I need to curl into fetal position and just have this show playing all the time and just get sucked into it because real life is, as I'm recognizing it, is not authentic. It's not where I want to be.
Yeah, because he literally screams, "This is not my life."
And it's a hell of an image. Like, it's just a phenomenal image among a couple of ones some of which we have referenced and some of which we haven't. One of which being the ice cream van from earlier, which is a recurring motif. And the other, just as a detail I want to bring up, is that a couple of moments we see, and it's mentioned when was the Pink Opaque just a TV show, or does it feel like memories? We see that comfortably in front of Maddie, Owen wore a dress.
Yes.
The same one from the show. And it is a moment where the film becomes textually trans in a way where I'm almost like, oh, come on, how are people not noticing this?
Yeah.
That's your willful ignorance right there.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay, so Owen ends up, he has this dysmorphia piece where he looks at himself in the mirror and he doesn't like what he sees, so he puts on a shirt. And then he goes to meet Maddie at the gym as she requested, and we're back under the planetarium lights. So she delivers this monologue, and let's talk about it.
Let's attempt to tackle this.
Yeah, this is intense.
This is, I think, for me, the emotional climax of the film. Like, I know that there's more to come, and Owen has a decision that he needs to make, and I think some people even laughed in the theater when I saw it, when he tackles Maddie and just runs away, like, they didn't know how to respond to it, and I was like, no, this is devastating.
I will say in the cinema, this is a moment where I realized this film had spellbound the entire audience, was when Maddie turns to the camera and says, "I pissed and shit myself," and not a single person in the audience laughed.
Yes.
That was when I knew what the power of the film was.
But I think that their performance is so, like, this, maybe it's really just this, because I could not imagine being an actor and having to deliver this monologue, because there's some wild things. Like, we're talking about, I moved to Phoenix and worked at a Build-A-Bear and blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, what? But it's so good. We keep saying the word transfixing. Take a shot. Take a trans shot every time we say the word transfix.
I noticed your choice of words, man.
I almost made the pun intended joke more than once, so yeah.
But the pun is always intended.
The pun is always intended, yes. But this this is a powerhouse performance. And I truly, like, I think the film is operating on a number of different levels. I think it's super, super well shot. But to me, this is it for the film. I want to go back and rewatch this monologue ad nauseum.
There's a line which has stuck with me a lot, particularly with some of my struggles starting at uni, and particularly with some of my own anxieties about aging, even though I am a relative youngster. With the fact that I joined uni about 5 years later than everybody else. There is a moment where Maddie says, time is moving differently now. First, days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and then into years, and they just kept flying by in seconds, and you tell yourself, life isn't supposed to feel like this.
Yeah.
And that line just hits unbelievably hard in terms of just a relatable feeling of something is not right.
Mm-hmm.
Or of a disconnect.
Yeah, it's like when you're out of that, you're out of sync with that authenticity, and it feels like it's like not only is like time's not supposed to be moving like this, life's not supposed to be like this, meaning I'm not supposed to keep like trying to have to grasp to these straws, right? Like I should be able to settle into whatever this experience is and be content, and I'm not. And it's because there's more to do and I don't have enough time to do it and to be authentic. And that's the part too. This whole, gosh, I broke down on this part, just from here to the end, honestly. I just thought it was so moving, and the juxtaposition between some of because it kind of thrusts this film into a reality that we have not really been sure we're in, but we're hearing about Maddie like getting like part-time jobs and just trying to make it work. And you can recall, like, I know people who had these periods of time, and I've had my own versions of them where, again, you kind of disappear and try to figure out parts of yourself that maybe you just couldn't explore in your hometown or with your family around or whatever. And hearing all that, but then just kind of like it goes from this very kind of mundane, this is how I kind of got through, to this really formative experience that is horrifying, and the imagery is horrifying, but all we have to go off of it is just Maddie's account, and it's just so powerful with like the constellations in the background, and it's such a cool visual.
It's written in the stars. You were not meant for this life. You were meant to do other things.
Oh, it's just like a beautiful, heartbreaking, but probably like one of the most heartbreaking moments I think in a film for me this year.
Yeah.
And the most interesting thing is that the dialogue throughout the rest of the film is fairly minimal, apart from the occasional moment.
Right.
It's kept very much down to visual images and things. So when this scene happens, it's a complete break from what's been previously established. And then we hear Maddie describe in graphic detail having herself buried alive. And it is just the moment which, if you weren't ruined already, this is the moment which would wreck you.
Well, and it sounds like she's talking metaphorically initially, and then you realize, oh no, she actually paid someone and barely escaped. And that's terrifying.
And just like, just the way of kind of the ultimate frame of like, and that allowed me to kind of transcend.
Yeah.
A bit. Like that part too. It's just kind of like, dear God, it's like telling someone, hey, here's what it's like on the other side, but this is kind of what I had to do to get here. And it's going to be fucking hard. It's worth it to be over here, but I need you to know it's going to be hard. Yeah. And that's the part that I think is like the barrier for so many people ultimately when coming into like your own authenticity and whatever identity that is, but especially something like, trans identity, where there is so much that you're going to have to contend with socially, interpersonally, psychologically, internally. There's just so much to reconcile with. And it is hard, like to kind of dismantle all of what you thought you knew about yourself and rebuild is one of the scariest and most difficult things. And it is like a death. And so I almost view that as like, it's horrifying, but it's worth what you have to go through to get on the other side. And that's kind of the crux here between these two characters. They're kind of on opposite sides of that threshold.
And of course, there's the righteous euphoria of the description of making it out. With kind of, I claw myself out of the ground to fresh air with like thunder crashing and the rain pouring down.
Oh my God.
And it's just such a vivid, wonderful description of just kind of rebirthing yourself.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
And it's interesting, too, because in some ways it does speak to the experience, like, not to be the fucking asshole who just brings it back to Buffy this whole episode. But, like, we're talking about how the show in the world, the Pink Opaque, ends on this cliffhanger that never gets resolved, and we're trying to get to season 6. And how does season 6 of Buffy open? It's her literally crawling out of the grave.
Yeah. Well, and so, like, to go in then to Owen's side of things. So, obviously, yeah, he punches her. He does not make this decision to go through and get buried alive and, discover his true identity. But
I yelled on this most rewatch. I was like, Owen, come on.
And Maddie did dig a grave. It is revealed in the later shot.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
that
it's
is
just there, left empty. And that is a visual which will stick with me.
like she was going to bury him.
This is the first time I noticed it this watch, and I remember just being like, just the shot of the behind the football field where you see it, where she said it was going to be, and it's like, Jesus, that was going to really happen.
Yeah,
and we don't see it in the scene; we only see it later.
Yeah, it's after the fact,
but it really hits all the harder for that because you just realize, oh, she wasn't kidding.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so this is something that Schoenbrun, because obviously what happens here, Owen's life does not get better by making this decision. This consigns him to something worse, a colorless life in the house he grew up in. And basically, like, Schoenbrun says that this is something that kind of reminded them about their own pre-transition anxieties, which included fantasies of dying young, because in their words, the idea of growing old in the wrong identity felt worse than burning out quick.
Wow.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well, let's talk about this time jump that kind of ends the film. So it's not a short sequence. We jump ahead 20 years and we get to see what Owen's life has become. He's working at something that's literally called a fun center, unpacking the balls from...
It's briefly referenced earlier on as going to be opening up. But, before we get on to this, I want to mention a quick detail.
Mm-hmm.
Is that shortly before this point, Owen moves into his old house, buys a new TV, which is notable, an LG TV. Life's good.
Yeah. Well, but he also says, this is when he's breaking the fourth wall, he says, I even got a family of my own. I love them more than anything. But he says this while he's dragging the TV inside. So is the TV his family?
The worst part is, it's true.
Yeah, I think we have to assume so, because on the second rewatch, I thought, oh, what a specific, deliberate choice to not show his family. And then I realized, no, he's just watching them in high def.
See, and I almost view it as like, I have a family now, I love them very much. And his flat delivery of that just kind of being the disconnect he has to what his real adult life is. And that TV is probably the most exciting thing that's going to happen in his adult life, not his.
Oh my God. Both of those options are terrible.
Yeah.
The Pink Opaque is on TV and it is on streaming now.
Yeah, it's on streaming and it looks like hot garbage now. It's nothing like what I remembered.
It's not good. And Owen just starts breathing really, really, really hard, and you realize in this moment that the asthma is kind of being correlated to the fact that Owen's possibly running out of oxygen as Isabel.
Yes.
I'm going to bring Gardner back in one last time. So they say the nostalgia is wiped away, but it goes deeper. His original gender projections towards the show are now self-loathing projections in wanting to distance himself from what gave him a sense of unease that he also previously could not look away from. If there is a cautionary tale in I Saw the TV Glow, it is how easily Schoenbrun shows Owen pushing the things that made up so much of his existence away, and frankly deny any sense of wonder and joy he got from it.
Yeah, I think that what I really like about this, and I didn't even notice this previously, but the subtitles when he's watching the Pink Opaque now, actually the characters are listed as fake Tara. and fake something. So it sounds like there is an intention for this to actually not be the Pink Opaque that he grew up with, that it's Mr. Melancholy or something changing reality to further keep him from that part of himself.
I mean, of course, there's a reveal after a certain point in the following scene, but there's lots of things we've noticed throughout, like transmorphers playing on the cinema screen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Things aren't right here.
Yeah, I did write in my notes. I was like, what is this movie? This, like, cartoon Transformers bastardization.
Yeah, this is not his real life. This is the fake Luna Juice life.
Yeah.
This might be the Midnight Realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of how I viewed it, yeah.
Okay, so what do we think of this imagery when he's working at the fun center? He has a breakdown after having to do all these terrible service job shit, like the Congo line birthday singing killed me.
If you're even like a little prone to anxiety, I think that this scene is like very anxiety inducing.
Oh my god, yeah.
This entire scene was just... It's phenomenal. It's wonderful. It's just the most horrible, horrendous moment, and it is the moment where I think everything comes into focus.
Yeah.
It's also notable that at the beginning of this scene, there's one of those kind of arcade cash machine things where it flies about around, and the text at the top, as I've explained to several people who haven't noticed, scrolling past says, "You are dying."
Oh my god, I'd never noticed that. No, that's wild. Yeah, no, he's definitely in the Midnight Realm.
Yeah, it's interesting too because half of the games you can see are actually tied to characters or moments from the Pink Opaque too.
You see,
yeah.
So he ends up having this absolute freak out, which I love. I think Justice Smith is so good in these moments. Like when he just screams, "I'm dying," and no one reacts.
And then he screams out for his mum.
He does.
Oh,
he says
which
mommy
is
for
one
sure.
of the most heart-wrenching things. It's kind of fucked up that I'm reminded whenever seeing this, not only how wonderful it is, but it reminds me of that video of the guy with the milkshake in the car park screaming for help.
Well, because it's the progression of his lines. Because I wrote them down. Of course, he's like screaming and wheezing these, but he says, "Somebody help me." Then I'm dying right now. Then sorry, ignore me, which we can talk about that in a minute. And then mommy.
Yeah. And everyone has frozen at this point also. So it's not even like, oh, they're just ignoring him. It's as though he's not even living in real life. Like someone paused the TV show that he is in and only he is still able to move.
Well, so then what do y'all make then of this Videodrome-ish scene in the bathroom?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think that there is something wonderful about it because I think in these moments, it does provide a more certain answer as to what's going on, I think. But there is a moment directly when the box cutter comes out and you think, oh fuck, what's going to happen? And then he cuts open his chest and you see the TV static inside.
Yeah.
And it's just this beautiful moment of just final self-recognition.
Yeah.
Only that to be ripped away from you, and it is the most haunting thing, and just leaves you in the cinema just thinking, oh no.
Yeah.
So this is from that New Yorker interview with Schoenbrun, but the writer says, executives felt that the film should end on a shot of Owen grinning at himself in the mirror in the aftermath of him cutting his chest open. A particularly charged image that Schoenbrun described blithely as Jesus with a pussy carved in his chest.
Sure.
But Schoenbrun held firm, convinced that a finish scrubbed of any ambiguity or ambivalence would ring false. They knew that the reality of seeing oneself for the first time could be dark and strange, or end in yet more self-denial. They refused to treat it as a pure relief or revelation. So, and I think that's pretty, that's clear here. I do see a more, God, do I want to say a conventional film that ends it there?
Yep. Yeah, I've gotten another quote from Schoenbrun about this. They say, I knew I wanted to be really honest that just because you've now finally seen yourself clearly that the lifetime of damage that repression has instilled in you is going to go away, I don't view it as a cautionary tale or a definitively sad ending. I just think it's truthful to the fact that if you've been taught to think of yourself as an imposter or apologize for being yourself, like many trans people are, that instinct doesn't go away overnight.
Yeah, I think for me, like that moment in there is of cutting himself and then seeing the static and the reaction is maybe an acknowledgement of like, I recognize that this is still in me somewhere, that part of me. And it's nice that I can still access it. It just takes a lot to access it. Literally, it takes cutting yourself open in this, reality. So it's like not something that I don't think he'd be able to do all the time. And the, coming back out, and it's very much of the, this is like the whole, the trend of the being demure and being mindful of the TikTok video that went viral. But the reason for that is a lot of times, I mean, and this is how I viewed it, the Jules LeBron video is the expectations of if you are going to be different, then you might as well blend in. You need to do it in a way where it's not going to draw attention to you, where it's respectful of everyone else who is quote unquote normal, and you don't want to shake things up. And so it's kind of this like very ironic reaction to that. But it just reminded me of that, him walking out and just apologizing. Like, sorry. Oh, that's just me being me. I'm crazy. I have all this.
I'm on a new medication.
Oh, yeah, he does say that.
But nobody even cares. That's the other thing that I find so dispiriting. Like, I think you could read this almost as a happy ending. Like, Ari, when you were talking, I thought, okay, he's still got it in him. That image, that memorable line, there is still time. He could still acknowledge who he truly is. But it's hard when the film just ends with him apologizing to people who don't care and don't even acknowledge his existence. And I just think this is still your life, and it's awful.
Yeah.
And that is when the film cuts to black.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, oh, you wanted reassurance? Sorry, motherfucker. There ain't none here.
I've heard, allegedly, that the scene was originally meant to go on for longer.
Oh, really?
And there was a suggestion, perhaps, that the scene was meant to continue with Owen picking up speed more and more and then running out the door.
No, I don't like that.
But I don't know how I feel on that. And some people have complained about the ambiguous ending of I Saw the TV Glow.
Of course they have.
Why would it end like that? Oh, is it a happy ending? Is it a sad ending? I don't know. To quote someone, I think I saw on some social media, it's probably some notable filmmaker. I don't know who, so apologies. Well, I don't know if it's a happy or sad ending. Why don't you figure that one out, Isabel?
Right.
I think it's a true ending, but I think it's a hopeful ending. I wouldn't say it's a happy ending or a sad ending, but I do think it's a hopeful ending in spite of all this waves hands frantically.
Yeah.
The terribleness.
I think, and I think there are people too. I mean, again, we're meant to believe that he's how old at this time with the time jump?
He is like 40, 43.
So, I mean, I will say
There's
this,
still
like
time.
I've worked with some trans folks who had not come out until their 60s. And
my
working with
gosh.
them during that process, there is a lot of like grieving the loss of time that if I had only done this sooner, if I had only been in a position sooner to, even know this about myself.
Yeah.
And it is just, I think like that whole final scene reminded me of a few of those people, and in a way that was just so like the ways that you learn to access parts of yourself that do give you a little bit more sense of authenticity. It makes you feel like, hey, yeah, I can be that person.
Yeah.
They're few and far between, and you kind of find your little ways to do it, and it's not ideal. It's not living out in public loudly. It's like, okay, if this is the best I can get, then this is the best I can get. And that's kind of what it read to me like. It's kind of like in the mundanity of all these mindless everyday things where you're just a ghost floating, screaming out and acknowledging, I actually am miserable. This fucking sucks. I hate life, essentially. Sometimes that's like the most you'll get. That's the most acknowledgement you're able to give that part of yourself. And I think that is just so, it is what it is. It's so emotionally impactful, whether you view that as being good or bad, but it does feel very real. And it's the tears were flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And now we get to end an episode.
I know. I was like, well, there's not a really good segue out of that. So, so that is I Saw the TV Glow. Does anyone have any final things to say before I wrap this up?
I was short. About a day afterwards, I was walking to my girlfriend's house, and I saw a lot of chalk drawings on the floor on the street by children, including with like moons drawn around them and stuff. And I turned around and I was just like, "You fuckers! I've already done it." I already did the thing where I bury myself and then crawl out of the ground. What more do you want?
You're getting stalked and targeted now.
Why are these children coming for me?
Yeah, no, I think the only other thing I'd say is, like, I think this movie does kind of some really jarring transitions well. And one of my favorites, we didn't talk about this, but in the scene whenever he is put in the shower by Fred Durst, after he has his breakdown in front of the TV, he starts vomiting static, and it, like, the sounds are so jarring, and then it just cuts to the next scene. And it's one of my favorite, like, kind of like smash cutty moments in this movie, where I was just like, God, and it's like, it just echoes, like, just the shrieking and the horrible sounds. And yeah, this movie just does that quite a bit for me. And sometimes I'm like, gosh, this is just like the darkest movie I've seen in a while. And sometimes I'm like, it's so beautiful to see something like this that is extremely complex represented in such an effective way that I'm just glad it exists.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think y'all have done this film a great service, and thank you both so much for coming on to this and giving us your insights. So I guess let everyone know where they can hear your thoughts. Robyn, you first. Where can people find you on social media?
You can find me. Well, I used to be in a weird, horrible little place. Not talking about the UK, still there. I do, for a good context, I do actually quite like the UK. I just think there's a lot of bad things about it.
Sure.
I made an entire film about this called The Estrogen Gospel, and if you can find any means to see it, hopefully it will get screened a couple more places. It will end up somewhere after that, thanks to any festivals that were, happy enough to play a film by a weird trans woman who lives in a mold zone. But yeah, I used to be on a very bad, funny social media that we do not mention. But thankfully, I buried myself in the ground and crawled out, and now I'm on Blue Sky. So I'm Real Robyn Adams on there, as I am at most places. I am Real Robyn Adams on Instagram. You can find me on Letterboxd. I have thoughts there. You can read my writing at The Geek Show, and otherwise you can just find me about. I'm just around.
There you go. And Ari, where can people find you?
Similarly, I am on Blue Sky. I'm on the few of the other go-tos under the Ari Drew, TheAridrew. I've also recently launched a new column at Bloody Disgusting called Found Frights, where I highlight up-and-coming or lesser-known or just found footage movies that I absolutely love and I think more people should know about, because that is just a subgenre I have a lot of passion for. So excited to be doing that now. But otherwise, I'm around. I will pop up here and there on different podcasts and the like. So just keep an eye out if you'd like to connect. I'm out there.
All right. But until next time, everyone, we can cross out I Saw the TV Glow.
Indeed. And cross out horror queers.